Administrator. Yeah, they have an RCA and all that, so it's in the. To prove that, but every year, we agree about.
Yeah, so on Tower 14. As you head east
It was well done.
Washington County.
Yeah.
Kind of wind up some of the works.
She did do a good job.
Lakes. And then it takes a turn, goes to south, east, so it gets straight here.
Yes.
Introducing.
Always get people straight there.
Introducing, two new hires. They're in the consent, whether they'll be on the not straight.
Yeah.
So I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, like the 601.
So chief deputy, so the two out on the lake. Now the residents.
The session started.
Well, I don't think so. I thought I'd have to go.
27.
It's not something you don't want to get another thing. Yeah, because I was
Please hold them to do that.
Yeah,
Seven. I did.
Because it happens every year. Yeah. That's it every year.
Yeah.
It's just first time we think we're exclusively.
Right.
Geez, my,
Yeah, yes, that is.
Apparently not.
Sometimes brain tonight, I was through this.
Anybody's gonna come to the problem up? It's from you. I'm gonna put it off the top of the list.
Actually, no, Sue's taking care of that,
Okay,
because I delegated it to them.
I love it.
One minute, have to wait till 6:01.
We put a stop in the chip. He's not.
Oh. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I couldn't remember one minute. We just started something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say anything.
No, I've been talking to
That was my fault. I was chatting, and I knew I told somebody else, I forgot to tell you. Matters reversing.
I confuse it with this.
That's not what I
Yeah,
said.
I'm going with it.
I know the difference. I just.
It's no one, we will call this meeting. You join us with pledge of allegiance. Sorry, we are again. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Administrator, we call roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Phelan.
Present.
Councilmember Alders.
Here.
Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Flattable. Chief Deputy Jacobson.
Present, sir.
City Planner Stockman.
Present.
Also present is Deputy Clerk Natalie Johnson and your city administrator, Scott. Roll call is completed.
Thank you. And we will, take a motion to approve the agenda, then we have amendments or additions. Seeing none, we'll take a motion to approve the agenda as presented. So
Second.
Motion, Councilmember Bryan, second, Councilmember Rainville. For those in favor, saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll start this meeting tonight with the truth and taxation public hearing. We'll open the public hearing now. And, first of all, is there anybody in the audience to speak to the truth and taxation? Going once, going twice, no one in the audience, so you'll move on. For those people that are watching online, either live or recorded, it's on live and Natalie.
It is live.
This is the public hearing. We have a hearing and a resolution to adopt our final levy and budget. Now then, 2024. Annually, the council is required to adopt the final levy and budgets submitted to the county by December 28th, according to the Minnesota Department of Revenue. The requirement is the city council discuss 2024 proposed budget and the 2024 proposed tax levy during that public meeting, allow the public to comment or ask questions about the budget and levy. The city council did hold four meetings in August and September to discuss and plan for the 2024 proposed levy and the 2024 proposed budget. We'll do that quickly for, again, those online, this information will be available on the website. It's not on so it's PowerPoint will be there, just the basic.
It is.
So this PowerPoint, for those interested, is on the city website. So the general fund amount proposed for 2024, we certifying tonight is $1,702,905. The debt service of $233,271, which is improvement bonds 2021A, general obligation improvement bonds $126,854, and 2021A GO equipment certificate $106,417. That total $233,271 for a total is $1,936,176. So our levy is based on current law and the 2024 general fund budget of $2,455,240. We've been making provision for the payment of the city's contributory share of the Public Employees Retirement Association. Provision has also been made for the payment of principal and interest on our following bonds that I just read. And highlights from our PowerPoint. We adopted our preliminary levy on September 20th and certified the amount to the county, Milwaukee County, prior to October 2nd as required. Now we set this public hearing date for tonight. Everybody make comments. What do we need for taxes? City council directed staff to bring necessary levy change to meet the needs of the capital and operations in 2024. That levy, as I said, is $1,936,176. That levy is a 5.35% increase over the 2023, for a total increase of $98,271. There was zero increase in general fund operating and capital improvement levy. And the $98,271 increase in the debt service levy is a 72% increase. Property tax levy comparison, 2023 levy was $1,702,905. General fund levy in 2024 is exactly the same. That levy was $135,000 in 2023, and it's $233,271 in 2024. City of Nowland is planning for the future by levying the appropriate amount to operate efficiently and effectively, always considering capital needs necessary for continued operation and improvements. General fund expenditures, the total budget is $2,455,240. Increase from last year's $247,645, or 11.2% in our general fund expenditure. Of that, $246,225 is for salary and benefits increase, a decrease of $61,500 transfers out. An increase in sheriff's contract of $53,710. Decrease in the fire contract of $24,645. New dump trailer at $19,000. Increased cost for printing and utilities of $17,335. Building official $13,000 increase, and then various other changes for $4,500. As I said, this is 5.35% levy increase over last year. Residential properties may see an increase between 4 and 5% in their city tax liability. And advise people to remember when they're looking at their tax statements, remember that's the county and the school district as well. If you read our newsletter, you'll see that of the dollar in tax that we get, the city gets about 21 cents on the residential dollar. And commercial property, we get about 11 cents. So the rest of that goes elsewhere. So please realize that when you're looking at your tax statement. Things that impact the levy, obviously, the most significant is increase in residential property values. Probably part of the reason we keep seeing surpluses at the state. We don't control that. Structure that the state set up, property values go up, you need the taxes, and so we need revenues to various parties. There's a thing called fiscal disparities distribution. Our fiscal disparities is a fund that is set up to. I wish anybody could explain it to me, but to distribute monies from certain cities to other cities. And the formula is a little obscure, but suffice to say, we have to pay more into fiscal disparities this year. And we get less this year, so we have to pay more into the pool and we get less out of the pool, so that increases our levy as well. And obviously, the 5% we went up in the levy increases that tax as well. Our city tax rate is 20.663%, down slightly from our 20.728% last year. Again, we're one of the 2 or 3 lowest tax rates in all of Milton County and most of the cities. Market value for the average home in Allen has increased to $480,000, 4% up from last year. At this new tax rate, the homeowner of this house would pay about $998 in city taxes, which is an increase of $44 annually. That property would pay about $83 a month in taxes. For that, you get police and fire protection, street maintenance and plowing, park maintenance, planning and inspection of properties, street improvements, necessary equipment to operate the city, other capital improvements, and the administration of all our city activities and our retirement of our debt. Nice graph here that shows tax capacity, tax rate, and a total levy. Again, if you want to see that, it's available online. You can see that graph. Our recycling center funds, total revenues for recycling are anticipated to be $79,005. This is derived from fees for recycling and from grants from Anoka County. This is an increase in revenue of $1,645. Total expenditures for recycling are anticipated to be $81,695, which is a decrease from last year, $23,695. We have reduced hours of operation and are looking at improvement for costs related to the disposal of recycled items. Total revenues are not projected to cover all the costs for recycling in 2024, but we do have a fund established for that. So we're going to use $2,600 out of our fund to cover our anticipated shortfall in recycling. This past year, we dedicated our charitable gambling resources into a fund to help pay for public safety expenditures. So this year, the city will be transferring from that fund about $50,000 to pay for an increase in the public safety expenditures from experience. Again, we have debt service. We increased the debt service $98,271 to pay for improvement bonds that we have out. The requirement, what we can do about that. Yeah, that's the total debt service for 2024 is $233,000, $271. Another graph showing debt levy as a percent of the total levy. Again, pretty consistent there. And we have capital project funds. Park capital, city is considering some improvements to parks in 2024, including our Memorial Park down at Twin Lakes. Some improvements are planned. Funding for the park improvements exists in a park capital fund. And so there's no additional impact on the levy for that. City has set up a fund for our fire turnout gear. City is funding future turnout gear replacements for its firefighters. We put about $7,500 a year in this fund to cover turnout gear. Firefighters are wearing out, new firefighters will need when they join us. And then we have a building fund that's money budgeted for a new well for fire department. And money budgeted for improvements to this township. Road improvements being considered for 2024 are down in the Rogers Lake area, Waco Street and Waco Drive. Neighboring roads there, the anticipated road improvement cost for 2024 are $912,000. They have a fund to anticipate replacing equipment. Expenditures in the equipment fund for 2024 include the final payment on a new fire tanker that was ordered 3 years ago. And we think we might have by next summer. Of the total amount we paid for that tanker, we owe about $16,950 yet to be paid on. And then we ordered a new Sterling truck 2 years ago for plowing, so we've been nursing along the truck that Eric drives. That truck is due in March, we anticipate. That truck will cost us $332,810, which we have money in those bonds that we talked about previously. Any remaining funds in that account will be used for future equipment replacement needs. And in our final slide will be tax capacity and rates for similar populated cities in Anoka County. These are cities under 5,000. Nowland has a tax capacity of $8,716,088. And our tax capacity, our tax rate is 20.66%. Centerville is almost 6,959,000. Their tax rate is 40%. Circle Pines is a tax capacity of $6.1 million. Their tax rate is 43%. In Columbus, a tax capacity is $10,426,000. And their tax rate is 39%. So you can see how we rate similar cities in our county. Any questions or anything that council wants to add? All right. Seeing no questions and nothing from the audience, we will consider our truth and taxation hearing closed. We'll go right to our regular meeting, and I believe it is 6:17.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Raymond.
I'm not seeing anywhere else on the agenda, the items B and C under number 2, so I would move approval of 2023-71 adopting the final levy for 2024 and approval of resolution 2023-72 adopting the budget.
There's a motion, Councilmember Rainville. Second from Councilmember Bryant. Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Now they got that, both of them approved. Do we have anybody who wish to speak to the public forum tonight? Seeing no movement, move on to the consent agenda. Again, the consent agenda, those items which are considered routine or non-controversial. Unless somebody were to pull something out of there, which nobody did tonight, we will move these all in one motion. For the record, the things we'll be voting on in the consent agenda tonight are the approval of city council meeting minutes of November 9th, 2023. Work session, November 14th, 2023, meeting minutes. November 19th, 2023, public hearing, November 27th, 2023, special session 1 and 2. We'll also approve all claims November 10th to December 8th, and the treasurer's report. There's a resolution approving the culvert, additional cost to replace the culvert between East and West Twin Parkway. Approval of the purchase of a snowplow attachment for our Bobcat pool cap. Approval of purchase of lights and installation of those lights for the hockey and hockey rink. Resignation, approving the resignation of Madeline Greenberg, and I will say, for the record, that's one of the finest resignation letters I've ever seen. We appreciated having Madeline with us, and we wish her the best as she moves on to bigger and better things. But honestly, a really nice resignation letter online or something. Otherwise, there's also a copy in the back. Accepting termination of the contract with the planning company, approving the hiring of Sue Schmidt and Chris Riley for part-time administrative assistant positions in the city office. Councilman Bryan.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Bryan, second from Councilmember Aldous. Any other discussion? Seeing hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will go to planning and zoning.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You've got before you, Mackenzie Hills preliminary plat, 3-lot plat located on England Boulevard. There was significant discussion on November 28th. We were all there, I believe, and the findings from planning and zoning were amended on page 4 to state that the construction standards within the proposed right-of-way will allow a private driveway to be constructed within at a 12-foot width for 1 to 2 residential units and a 20-foot width for 3 or more residential units without any base or sub-base requirements. And later in the packet, there's a proposed amendment in that regard. If there are
Yes.
yes,
One question is, if the 20 feet up to 3, if it's more than that, don't they have to take the road in?
no, I'm talking, this is regarding fire code. So 3 or more living units, 3 or more residences, it has to be 20 feet wide. So yes, more than if they add another.
If
lot.
they have 4th lot, they got to take the road.
So if there are no changes to the findings or any questions, I would offer. Ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Raymond.
I would move to approve the Mackenzie Hills preliminary plat subject to the conditions outlined in the attached city council findings as may be amended. Second.
Motion from Councilman Rainville, second from Councilman Platteville. Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And next, we have Prague State interim use permit.
This is a proposed interim use permit for a parcel on St. Francis Boulevard. The gentleman runs Northern Pavement Maintenance, which is a small asphalt paving company. Planning Commission discussed the item on November 28th and voted 5-0 in favor of the request with 2 members absent. I have provided some more information based on some of the public hearing statements that were made. I haven't heard any comments back from anyone. I'm not sure if this is adequate or if we can answer the questions, but I feel like based on the aerial photos provided and previous subdivisions around the site, that those are indeed legally non-conforming accessory buildings. And Is there any-
Question there, Liz, you say 5 of the 6 existing accessory buildings have been in existence since 365.
So there's that one tiny one, which is 125 square foot. It's a very small shed. It's behind the, shed that's kind of the medium-sized shed that's on the middle of the site. It must have been added at some time after.
The square footage you've got there is only 5. You say there's 6 existing accessory buildings. The old chart shows 5.
Because I included the 270 square feet is for both silos.
Okay, so they're considered separate.
They are separate, but I just lumped them together.
Okay.
Secondarily, regarding topography and drainage, the applicant was right when he stated that majority of water from the site does go to the pond. And when he increased the grade along the south line, that most likely did sort of create a landlocked situation there. I guess, based on what your feeling is regarding that and the fact that it does not connect to the wetlands that abut Fort Brook. Looking for some input on that, as well as what you'd like to do regarding screening. There is indeed a requirement for screening within 100 feet of a residential use. The house to the south is the closest, even though it's 200 feet away. And the gentleman submitted a letter stating he did not have a problem with the Krogstad request. You still could, at your discretion, ask for a fence or any additional screening.
On the topography and drainage in your report, it says the pond is not connected to other regional wetlands to the west, which make up the fringe adjacent to Fort Brook. Although there may be a small amount of overflow during wet years trickling towards the southwest. So the idea is everything there, if there's anything coming off the truck or seal coating, any chemicals there, that the understanding it's all gonna head to that pond. Only
Yeah.
in really, really wet years is there gonna be a problem.
It's really pretty well contained on site. And if you look at that topography line that kind of circles up and around the pond, it would only be in an overflow 100-year flood year that it would start to go south, so. I don't have any concerns about it if council feels the same.
My concerns and the council is all there to watch. I was disappointed that there weren't more questions at the time of the hearing. And the reason we have a planning and zoning is to do the research and come with a thorough recommendation. And I just kind of felt that some of the questions that typically are asked at a meeting like that didn't get covered. So obviously, that's why you were given opportunity to do some more research and
Sure.
come up with some of these additional questions. I don't know what the rest of the council thought in the planning and zoning, but typically we're more thorough when you're getting out of POC, because you're living with these for a long time. This is our opportunity, if you had questions that you thought should have come up at that time, to ask those tonight. Councilor Platt.
So is there anything going forward as far as the neighbor says, no problem? But with the screening, what I'm concerned with is, do we have to look at that, even though the neighbor says it's fine? If the neighbor moves, or is, since this is already done at that time, if the neighbor would move, would that new neighbor have to come forward? Or how does that exactly work when we have things like this?
Mr. Mayor.
Planner Stockman.
So, yeah, whatever you approve tonight basically would stand unless for some reason there were an excessive amount of complaints and you decided to, require an amended CUP or something. But these are zoned commercially, so it's a little bit different than, if it were in the middle of the neighborhood. You are in a pretty busy corner here, So, you know, highest and best use for this as well as the neighbor to the south is gonna be commercial. Having said that, I mean, it's very nice of the gentleman to submit the letter. And you're right, if someone different lives there, they may have a different opinion. So, you know, it is something for you to think about. But another comment I would make is that the planning commission was or has been in the process of looking at some of these landscaping and screening requirements. And I believe we had talked about, reducing that in certain cases. We kind of had a graduated, like chart of a percent of screening based on what's there and based on how far the neighboring uses are, because 100 feet is a lot. And it would be the same requirement if, a commercial use went in here. The way the ordinance reads is that it is 100 feet from residential uses, not residential zoning, it's both, so. It's very stringent, more stringent than I've seen, but, yeah, so I guess just go with what you think is best long term.
Yeah, so the property to the south is a commercial zoning, but it's, as long as it's residential use, and that could be residential use. If you've seen that house, it's probably not gonna go commercial anytime soon. It's probably gonna stay residential. And then the western property line, the storage area is 75 feet from that. The house is 350 feet away, but again, you've got that situation where the current people are, their land use is such that the house is way over that lot. If that lot can be divided, that would be a problem. How far is the equipment storage from the property line?
I'd say it's about 20 to 25 feet. So I mean, that would be similar to an accessory building setback, right? I mean, if somebody could put a building there too. That close, I mean, you know.
No, it's down in the screening, you say the moving of storage further toward the interior of the lot may hinder drainage by encroaching the high water elevation. And they're more or less landlocked.
Well, they basically be right up to the pond. If he wants a similar sized area, but has to move it 100 feet.
And you're saying the more or less landlocked will probably go back to your topography and drainage where it says a small amount of overflow during wet years could come on. That's why you're saying it's not really a landlocked, but
Well, right, see, if he moves toward the pond, you know, I believe he's gonna have to regrade all that. And kind of make it more level, or relatively level, you know. I guess, you know, it's very hidden from the road where it is. I mean, I do think there's other spots you could put it on site, but. You know, it is hidden from the road and he probably doesn't wanna necessarily look out at it from home either.
Mr. Mayor does have a row of trees that's to the south that.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice stand of trees. I was out there. And he did spend a lot of money on that fence, or, you know, a lot of effort as well along this St. Francis Boulevard.
And on the question I had on the city council findings, page 2. So actually, page 1, the business has been operating on that property since May of 22. What was the motivation to apply for an IUP now?
A complaint
Complaint?
that was about trucks pulling onto the highway.
Is that going to be potentially an issue? I mean, if somebody's complaining about that, there's no turn lane again.
No, I don't see it as an issue. They don't have any more trips per day than a residential is allowed, up to 10 trips per day, single family unit. So really, that shouldn't be an issue. I felt like it was a unique situation, I guess, where, they pulled in front of somebody or they slowed down to turn and somebody got mad behind them. It was kind of a random complaint.
Again, my concern is that never, to my recollection, came up at the planning and zoning discussion. And what caused this to, been in operation for a year and a half and now it's been pulled because of the complaint, so.
Right.
Again, we need to encourage commissioners to be thorough in their questioning and say, so we can get a complete packet here.
Right.
On page 2 of the council findings, 6.3, again, this is where we have our moratorium change because leasing a space from one person in front
Right.
has that same language in it, so we want to make sure that that isn't part of this packet.
No,
We'll get
not at
that
all.
ordinance changed.
In fact, I believe I had a condition in here about prohibiting leasing.
And it's understood that one or more of the family members and they live on the property. And 2 full-time and 4 part-time on-site employees. That's not a problem.
No, that's not a problem.
And then on page 4, quite a list of vehicles. And again, normally, I've been going to planning and zoning for 16, 17 years. And I've never seen a list like this not even be discussed, as far as the equipment. Is this what's going to be? Because normally you say, okay, this is the equipment you're currently on. Are you thinking about adding more? Because if this is increased, then he has to come back with maybe
No, we did talk about that at the meeting a little bit, and I talked about it with him, so we have those things included.
Yeah, it just seemed like, again,
They didn't
we were in a
ask.
hurry that night or something. I don't know.
I was, or the whole,
They seem to be. I
Oh, the
don't
whole
know. It's
commission.
just, normally this is something you say, is this the complete list? Are you actually using all the equipment and do you think you're gonna need more? And I think there's gonna be changes. Get it now rather than have it come and amend it.
no,
6 on that. The recommendation of approval, the hours of operation, 6 AM to 8 PM. Monday through Saturday and 9 to 6 on Sundays. And I know it's a commercial area, but it currently has residential to the west and residential use to the south.
right.
Mr. Clark said you plan on doing much on Sundays?
No, it's just there in case, and we also do snow plowing, snow removal. Hard to say what time I'm actually gonna be leaving. Try to limit it to that 9 to 6 on Sundays.
And just knowing the diesels start up across the road from me and they get ready to, especially in the winter time, they want to leave at 6, but they're dieseling it.
Right off Highway 47, we got constant semi truck traffic coming off of that stop sign there. A diesel pickup starting on my property isn't going to be louder than a semi truck approaching that stop sign.
Council, any other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Brian?
so we're talking about screenings and it seems like we're including the trees. Well, what if the trees go away? Does that have to be replaced with a fence?
Mr. Mayor,
Planner Stockton?
that's a good point. You can add a condition that says the trees have to be maintained for the longevity of business. If they are destroyed, they have to be replaced by plantings or fencing. It also came to mind that for another recent project, we had a condition where we added if the, this was a little different, it was next to a residential site, but I believe we stated something like, if and when the adjacent property develops, then they would be required to build a fence. You know, if we got any complaints, maybe then we ask them to put a fence up or additional trees. But you're right, I mean, it should, if this were destroyed by a tornado or something, or any other act, is that, I mean, satisfy you that we put something?
Right, something would have to, I mean, especially if the residential there, I think something would have to be there. You know, at any given time, just because of the whole being next to residential on the south and west end,
Right,
that's my opinion.
And that's what's usually done if someone has to plant a screen, you know, berm or something, that it has to be maintained for the life of the business.
I think to your point, Councilman Bryan and the Councilman Schlagel questions earlier. Right now, the people on the south wrote a letter, they're okay with this, but it would sell to another residential use. And they didn't like what they were looking at, they would be obligated to put the fence up. So the current residential use isn't concerned, but again, it's within our authority to say, if the new residents decide that's a problem, do they have to put up a fence, or do the township put up the fence? Or should it screening?
Mr. Mayor,
There you go.
two things. One is if we amend this to say, if tornado comes in and tears down all the trees, are we gonna do that with every
No, I-
IUP that comes
Tornadoes,
through?
I think this is,
Okay,
you're
so-
thinking more like clearing the trees,
Okay.
the trees.
And second is, I don't think you can say, or at least I would not vote for it if you tell me that if a new resident comes in and doesn't look like what they're looking at, that now he has to make changes. I mean, we will be being called in, we'll be calling in people every day. I mean, it's like moving in next to a school and then complaining about the parking. You know, you're not gonna take the school away, it's there, you bought it, you move next to an airport, you got planes.
Yeah, I think the difference is typically on a commercial that's up against the residential, as opposed to a commercial zoning that's being used residential. We actually do typically require the screening then, either maintained vegetation or fencing. This is a little odd because you're the commercial usage, non-commercial usage, but they're both residential, or zoning, both residential uses. So if you're gonna do it, this would be the time to do it. If not, then forego it.
Well, I think it's particularly important in this case because we are, it sounds like we're in favor of, you know, letting this 100-foot setback go, so asking for that maintenance of those trees, I don't think is inappropriate.
With the 75 feet to the back, you're saying letting it go. We don't need a variance for that per se. It's just the screening part, right?
It's this, yeah, it's the screening part. Correct.
So maintaining the screening, the 75 feet will be okay with the determination of screening would need to be made.
Correct.
And then if anybody wants to address screening to the south, specifically, yes or no? I see a no, I see a no, I see a no. Dan? Okay. So the consideration that the 75 foot to the back property, the western property line is acceptable, but maintain the screening with notation. Requirement to maintain the screening.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Uncle Rava,
I would move, motion to approve an IUP for Jennifer Krogstead, subject to the conditions as outlined in the city council findings and as may be amended.
that include the correction on 6.3 on leasing the space.
That's already in there.
It's in there, we want it out of it.
No, it has to be in now because the ordinance isn't changed, but there's a condition that says no leasing of, or if there's not, there will be.
So will that affect this after the fact?
No, because you're basing it on these conditions and what you're approving, so we put no leasing of space,
And where did we have that?
I'm just looking at it.
That's extreme.
Well, 6.3 is, that's on page 2, that's part of the. Yeah, extended home occupation language that you're talking about.
That's the one we're changing. But where did we, where did we
That's to
exclude?
be changed, right? No, I have a note, I don't see it. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, see right under that, Mr. Mayor, on page 2, the buildings or land are not to be leased to other residents or businesses, so I will repeat that as a condition.
I was gonna say, it's a comment, we need to make that as a condition.
I'll second it.
Okay, there we go. Motion by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Alders. Any other discussion? Again, I think these need to be thoroughly done at the planning commission, but with that said, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, motion carries. Mueller residence.
So I met with the Muellers on site and we took a look at the home there along with inspect. And, determined that the house is of sufficient structural integrity to stand at the present time, and they wish to dismantle portions of it to make it non-livable and consider it at that point to be an accessory building. They're planning to remove the stove, kitchen stove, pellet stove, disconnect water, any gas, propane, and state law require the disconnection of septic before, pumping, crushing, and burying the tank prior to approving a new septic for the site. So the intention is that they do the demo work prior to issuance of a building permit for the new home. They're planning to put the new home farther back in the woods. The current home doesn't meet setbacks, it's legally non-conforming. So in the interim, they will maintain it as an accessory use, that's what you'd be approving.
There's a picture, it looks like an additional shed there.
There's two additional,
Three.
But this is just addressing the house, they've got plenty of property, the sheds are not an issue.
correct, size wise, yes, the sheds are not an issue.
Questions from the council? Put your back door, Jason.
Mr. Mayor,
Livestock,
if I might add, the city does have a residential maintenance code. So if it ever were to get to a point where, it became a dangerous structure or, wasn't maintained, I guess, to your satisfaction, then the city council could pursue that at a later date.
any other comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainbow.
let's have a, so are they required to take out all of the for lack of a better word, HVAC systems and all that?
No.
Or they're just discontinuing the service to that?
Yeah, correct, they're just taking out pieces of the puzzle basically that make it livable. So there's five, the way I understand it, 5 items, heating. I put them in this,
They have to take out one, they're taking out,
yeah, they're. So like cooking, eating, living, sleeping and sanitation. So, and then disconnecting the septic is a big one. They don't want to heat it or anything anyway, because it's not efficient.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
just vote. Councilmember Brown,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-80, authorizing Bridget Mueller, 2421 Ingham Boulevard to convert the residential dwelling into an accessory building for purposes of constructing a new home.
I'll second it.
motion Councilmember Bryan, second Councilmember Alt, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. All right, ordinance amendment 2023-07.
Back to the ordinance amendment. Based on our discussion at the November 28th meeting, joint meeting, allowing the 12-foot. Basically private driveway within the right of way under our street deferral ordinance. If, I don't know what your timeline is on it. If you want it noticed for the January meeting, you'll probably have to have, me or staff do that. Prior to your January 9th meeting. And hiring of the new, company, so. It just depends on how fast you wanna move on it, or whether you like what you see here.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville,
in this document, I guess I'm confused here because D has ordinance amendment. 2023-07, but the request for council action is back in 2020-01. And so it would,
Oh, it would be 2024-01 in the new year, yeah.
okay. So I was missing something.
would this normally go through the planning commission, or
Yes, it,
is it necessary to move on this?
well, you could also hold a public hearing at your January meeting, if you wanted to do that, there's time to do that. I mean, it's not a major change.
Yeah.
And the, commission has seen, and of course, worked on the other deferral driveway, deferral of paving ordinance in prior months,
All right. And also with that correction that, it's the 2024, probably 01 ordinance. Any other question?
Well, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Bryan,
I'm understanding this from the meetings we're having, basically, we're saying this is the, would be the ordinance to defer the requirements to have to build the road. Right?
Okay.
So down the road, things change, it's time to build the road. Are we changing how we're funding the road, knowing that it's not just a simple resurface project, that it's literally building a road? And would all of the residents along that be, involved for the cost for that construction of the entire road at that time? Or would it be by lot, or does it come back to the original residents that, would have had to do it in the initial phase?
I think it was a question that came up when, this issue first came up with Lesto's subdivision years ago, a couple years ago. His question was the fourth lot and requires a road.
Mhm.
Do the three people that were living there have to pay for that road along with the fourth lot? And they're saying, we're not doing anything different, but we sold to somebody outside the family, now they want to build another house. Why should we have to pay for that road? And I'm not really sure what that resolution was at that time.
Well, there is no resolution. That's the risk of this, of allowing this. It could get passed on to future buyers. It's going to be recorded against all the lots in the subdivision. So whomever splits next is required to build that road. So it basically, unless, it's a family situation where they all agree to share it, it may become a little contentious. But the city, in the agreement, the city can also go in if they feel the need in the future to build the road and assess it. But, you're right, it would be basically starting from scratch to
Mhm.
build the road.
And does building that road at that time usually increase the property value enough to allow for a section? Or it's just, that's the way the ordinance gets written, that it would be a section?
I believe the agreement that they signed, kind of waives that right or whatever. They've agreed to that under these terms to have this deferred. That's the way I understand it. And I'm not an attorney, but
I'm gonna say we should probably run that by the attorney, because the question will come up to 429 with this. They're going from a driveway to a road, but does it increase my property value enough to?
Right,
That road assessment, right now, we're talking about somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000.
right, and if you're doing 500,000 for quarter mile, divided by 4 people, that's 125,000 each. I can't see the property value going up that much in a year. That would be my concern.
I'm trying to find a copy of,
$720,000 value add for a tar road, but I might have more.
another point.
That was for gravel road.
That's right.
I think it begs a little more research. Is this gonna do anything to McKinsey's? If this ordinance isn't changed immediately until we have those answers.
No, they went out of here with the understanding that they could move forward in preparing the documents. They have to come back to you with the final plan anyway, and then I'm sure Ruby would, draft the agreement that would be similar to what, based on the one prepared for Lifestone. So, but we can get you that information.
So, Mr. Mayor, the clarity is they're gonna go ahead with their driveway with the 2 buildable lots, or well, they've got 3 buildable lots, but they're gonna build a house on 2 of them.
Mhm.
It's when they potentially choose to either build on that 3rd lot, or they could subdivide that 3rd lot again, I think, based on the amount of property that they have, right? Or building entitlement that they have, so the question is,
The third lot,
who pays the road when the 3rd homeowner comes out?
it's the fourth lot that triggers. The third lot only has to go to 20-foot wide.
Okay, so it's the right of way is already there. The 3rd home would make it go to 20 feet wide, which they potentially would put in over there. But it's the 4th lot, so it'd have to be, if it got subdivided again, then who pays?
Correct.
Right, and the other issue that you might want to keep in the back of your mind is the city engineer raised the point that the lesser amount of impervious being allowed with the driveway versus the road width will necessitate smaller ponds
Right.
within smaller easements. But then once the road goes in, we really should have easements to accommodate the future pond that's needed, even if the current pond is smaller. Just keep that up there.
But that's 66 feet, right?
Well, 24-foot top, yeah. with paved road. But now, I mean, we're half that, right? So for driveway width. So we're,
But are you saying there need to be easement for ponds as well?
right, they have to put those ponds in an easement as well as the wetlands typically, so that we can access them and maintain them if we have to. At some point, they become city property if it's a city road, so. Yeah, there's a lot to think about.
Mr.
Councilor Flagel.
So we're doing this on, so all these people want, from what I understood, and we had the hearings, that they just want two houses, right, two residences.
Right.
And they have no intention thereof to have any more split property anymore, as what he had said at the,
Well, they wanted three. They came in wanting three.
okay.
And it's no more to do, it's no more cost to do three than it is two. That's why they're going with three. Because the one is on the other side of the boat. And two are on the north, so. But you're right, their immediate intention is building two houses, right?
So if they had three, let's go with three then.
Okay.
If they had three, is at that point we have to consider those ponds if they do three? Or is it
Well,
with four? This is what
yeah.
I'm just trying to.
Well, see, yes, in a way, because he would have to widen them. If he had three homes, widen to 20 feet wide for the driveway, which may increase the pond sizing again, so. I mean, and we're talking about it, it really makes the most sense to build a 20-foot wide and just do the ponds that you need instead of redoing it later, in my mind, but, yeah. So the road would widen at 3 lots, and then the 4th lot would trigger the public road.
But those three lots may not come about for another 20 years.
Right, and yeah, or 50 or 100, I don't know,
Okay,
yeah.
so right now, we're just dealing with someone taking their own property and putting dirt road in.
Right.
So if the third lot went in, they go to 20 feet, the ponding changes. If they go to a fourth lot, so it becomes a full road with 66-foot easement, 24 top,
Mhm.
would that change the ponding significantly from 20 feet? Gravel road?
I guess unknown, but I think the best thing to do would be just to acquire the easements necessary, because you can still use the land even though it's an easement. I mean, I don't think they plan to do anything with it anyway. I'm sure there's a small difference. I don't know what, if that means one more pond or if you just make it a little bigger or what that means, in terms of stormwater calculations. But maybe that's something that we could ask for, just some comparison, because they've actually done it for the 24-foot width, so they do it again for 12 or 20, maybe they're gonna compare anyway for their own cost analysis. It's not a bad idea.
Any other questions? Make a motion then? With those things in mind. Make a motion to direct staff to schedule a public hearing at the appropriate time when the questions are answered. In particular, the understanding of how we document who pays for the road when it goes in, run that by the city attorney. And when we get those questions answered, then schedule a public hearing accordingly in 2024.
Second.
Right? Motion by Mayor Pion, second by Councilmember Bryan. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Scott, Natalie, is that clear? Any questions before we move on? That's the one.
Just to schedule a public hearing as soon as the questions are answered, whether it be in January.
Sometime appropriate after the questions are answered, but obviously the big one is the legal question.
I'm pretty sure that there was some specific language in the development agreement, so we'll figure it out.
Right, and then there was one more, anything from Attorney Glazer on the process for non-compliant properties.
Not.
Attorneys are out of the country. All right, we have nothing in engineering, fire department. Chief had a commitment tonight, so we'll run briefly through his report. You can see the November response times slightly increased over 2022. Went up almost a minute in response times. Calls for service went down. We had 30 calls for service in 2022 November and 21 in 2023. Firefighters, last year at 4.3. Firefighters at 0.3 was hardly worth it. But we had 4 this year. Again, that's consistent if you look at the numbers throughout the year. Fire, we had 8 fire-related calls and 13 EMS-related calls. Fire was similar to last year, EMS was 10 down from last year. Now, for November, fire department responded to 21 incidents, one less than October. Having response time of 14 minutes and 29 seconds. A 39-second reduction from October, an improvement. Average number of firefighters attending calls for service was 4. Fire department reports no dollar loss from fires during the month of November. The fire department assisted other agencies 1 time in the month. Now we assisted overall. November 17th, fire department along with several other agencies were dispatched to report a motor vehicle accident with injuries. Upon arrival, it was discovered a van and a truck on farm equipment had collided. Driver of the van was pronounced deceased on the scene. 3 other occupants of the van were transported to the hospital for evaluation. I think we'll probably get that in your report as well, so we'll leave it at that. November 19th, and again on November 20th, the fire department responded to a home on 6800 block North Lake Road for a lift assist. Lift assist is when someone is unable to get themselves up from the floor, or it could be any number of reasons. Due to the frequency of calls in that short period of time, the fire department consulted with the family to have this person transported to the hospital as their physical ability has been in decline. Over the year, the fire department has responded to similar incidents at this address 7 times in total. Fire department plays a pivotal role in early identification and advocating for residents attaining the next level of care and service for the life stage. The question by going back to the chief. The Fire Protection Council authorized this past year a new records management system. And it's been introduced slowly throughout the year. So this past couple of months, it's been introduced to St. Francis and Malvern. So we're coming on board with the new records management system. So the reports you'll see in 2024 will be significantly more detailed than this. And so there'll be some changes coming there with the new records management system. They can identify specific facts more clearly and articulate them in graphs. So we'll see an improvement on that, we've been told. And Chief Deputy, Sheriff's report. You can. Good evening. Sure. There you go.
My name is Bill Jacobson. I serve as the Chief Deputy for the Norfolk County Sheriff's Office and the liaison for the wonderful city of Nowden. With me tonight, I have the November 2023 Sheriff Report. I'll cover some notes from the month here. Deputies responded to a total of 119 calls for service. Those calls included 2 to the bar and none facility, 6 alarm calls, 14 medical calls, and 12 animal complaint calls. Some calls of note, the 2 to the bar and none facility were both running with juveniles on the 7th at midnight. We were notified that 2 juveniles had left the property on foot, both left in warm weather clothing. The temperatures were cold that night. We always consider what they're wearing. We developed a search plan. We did search the area. 1 juvenile was located at the Quick Trip in St. Francis after he called the shelter to turn himself in. So we were able to get him safely back to the shelter. The other male was found to have been picked up in a vehicle by a girlfriend. That male was entered as a runaway for our normal protocol. On the 9th, we responded at 11:25 in the morning, another report of a runaway. This juvenile was located across the street from the facility. One of our now deputies was able to convince this young lady to go back to the facility without incident, so that was resolved safely as well. Some other noteworthy incidents from around the city in November. On the 5th, at approximately 5:30 PM, we were notified of a possible kidnapping in the 9200 block of 188th Avenue in the city of Nowden. That prompted a response from multiple squads. In this incident, the reporting party called 911 and said he received a phone call from his wife's cell phone. Unknown parties on the phone said his wife had been kidnapped and they were holding her, demanding banking information to have her released. So they were demanding a ransom money to have her released. In this situation, the person called 911 to report it. We began coordinating a response and determined that she was believed to be at an address in Maple Grove for her normal daily routines, and so law enforcement went there and found her to be safe and unharmed. In this case, we were able to determine it was likely a phone spoofing scam attempt. Phone spoofing is a free software where you can basically program your phone to show up as anybody's phone number. And people can use information from your Facebook page to obtain your wife's name or phone numbers and stuff like that. And they can use that to set up these types of scams, these types of incidents. Obviously, this was a scary incident for the involved male. Thankfully, she was fine. These can be tough cases to solve and to track down. IP address tracking many times leads us to areas of the world that we don't have jurisdiction. In this case, there was no money sent, no money lost, and we located her safely, thankfully. On the 7th at 5:49 PM, we were notified of a burglary at the Nowden storage facility in the 19900 block of Iguana. The victim reported finding an unknown lock on her unit. She ultimately was able to get in and found multiple items missing, including tools, the 50-inch TV. No suspects at this time, and there was a second burglary at the same location, a different unit on the 25th as well. We talked last month about an uptick in burglaries, and the vast majorities are occurring at storage facilities.
So my understanding is that's fully cambered. When there was a fire there, they showed up pretty quick. They know what's going on. So what, are we not able to access the camera equipment and identify suspects?
The main problem we face when we're looking at cameras in these specific situation is they don't go to their storage unit for months at a time. So it's difficult for us to determine when the theft or burglary may have occurred. Cases I've reviewed, it's been many months since they last knew for sure that the items were in the storage unit. Creates a problem trying to narrow down what video to look at and, where to focus our time. If we had a more clear time frame for some of these, we could definitely look at video and try to get that on. But unfortunately with months of video, we don't know when to start for that.
So when they access the gate, do the owners have identification of who's coming and going? I mean, is there patterns you can see that, see this identified person or vehicle tends to go in here once a month and they're not renting? and renting. I don't know, it just seems like we've got to do something to get a handle on it. I was looking at the trend sheets and when you look at the year over year, it's one thing. But you look at the trends, those trends are all pretty good till you get to burglaries.
Yes, sir.
And again, I appreciate that trend sheet because it, you know, one-offs aren't that big a concern, but the trends are where you try and focus your activities. And burglaries are the one that's growing. And it seems like, as you say, most of them are in storage units.
Mr. Mayor, I'll have one of our investigators follow up with the building owner to see what other information we can maybe provide to, what they can provide to us to maybe get a better handle on why this is happening and how we can maybe be proactive as some solutions.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Ray, though.
yes, that was something I was gonna say, because your report tonight and the Laura Landis report, we gotta continue to mention those storage units. I know one section is newer than the initial section. Maybe a conversation that we need to upgrade their security gates. I mean, somebody's gotta have a method of getting in there. Unless they're going over the fence and taking a 50-foot-inch TV over the fence, and I don't see that.
That seems unlikely. Yes.
What kind of
Our
security?
deputies would see that.
What kind of security do they have there? What steps have they taken to try to eliminate some of the burglaries?
I'm gonna guess this is probably a big issue with all places. I think a family member would have had storage units and they're accessible 24/7.
By design, yes.
And there's a lot of different units in there.
Yeah. For all we know, that somebody that is renting, and it could be the thief, so they have access to it.
Mr. Mayor, I'll work with our investigator. We'll see the investigator to see.
We can come up with a solution. We can market it city or county-wide.
Right?
All right, sorry to interrupt.
No problem, sir. On the 11th, we responded to a burglary at a business. This is not a storage facility burglary. 8100 block of Viking Boulevard. The reporting party was an employee, arrived at work in the morning, finding the power cord in the building. Entry had been forced into the building and a safe was taken. I'm not gonna comment anymore on that one. That's an active investigation that's been assigned out for follow-up. So on the 14th at 9:18 p.m., we responded to the 8400 block of 211th Avenue. I reported a protection order violation in progress. The suspect was an adult male. He was known to us as a prior offender and was seen by the victim on video surveillance on the property. That's a high priority call that actually occurred during this meeting last month, as you may have noticed. In that incident, our deputies responded from across the northern part of the county into the area, began a careful search of the property. They located the male in a barn. He was not cooperative and was basically trying to hold the door shut as our deputies were going in to make an arrest. Thankfully, he was taken into custody safely by the deputy and some assisting deputies. He was booked at the Norfolk County Jail on charges of violating an order for protection. Couple crashes to report on the 17th at 7:59 p.m. We responded to the 22700 block of Jarvis Street on a report of crash with injuries. This is the one that was referenced in the report from the fire department as well. Our initial investigation showed that an adult male was driving a pickup truck and was also towing a large piece of farm equipment southbound on Jarvis Street. A second adult male was driving a minivan with an adult female and 2 juvenile passengers. They were going northbound, so these vehicles are in opposite directions. The van struck the piece of equipment that was being towed by the truck. And the driver of the van, unfortunately died at the scene. There were the 3 passengers in the van. They were all transported to local hospitals for additional care. The truck that was pulling the farm equipment was not directly involved in the crash, so the driver of that vehicle was not injured. The occupants of the van were all residents of the city of Zimmerman. This case as a fatal crash is being investigated by our criminal investigations division and the Minnesota State Patrol as per protocol. And of course, we were assisted by Nowland Fire, and then we actually had all the resources from the Elk River side on that crash as well, so residents may have seen a pretty significant response to that incident. And on the
And
twenty-fifth,
just for clarification, that Jarvis is, the middle of that road is the demarcation between Elk River and now then, so. Depending on which side of the line it was, responsibility is gonna be in Anoka County or Sherburne County. And thus, everybody had to show up.
yes, sir, and in those situations, a dual response that you find out is very common on border streets. We'll help people first, and then we'll figure out where the reports go. Another crash occurred on the twenty-fifth. 7:52 p.m. deputies responded to cell phone highway 47, the area of 189th Avenue on the report of crash. The driver of this vehicle was cell phone, an 18-year-old male. He said he was traveling approximately 55 miles per hour when an oncoming vehicle crossed the center line into his lane. Male reported to deputies that he swerved to avoid a head-on crash, which caused him to leave the roadway, travel down into the ditch, and then launch over the embankment there. The vehicle damaged trees as high as 8 to 10 feet in the air, so we know that this vehicle traveled through the air and went approximately 30 yards into the trees. Thankfully, this male was walking and talking when we got there and was transported to Mercy for medical care and evaluation. The time of the crash, it was snowing out, temperatures were in the mid-20s, slippery conditions, pretty common in that situation. It did take quite a while to recover the vehicle from the woods. We had to have help getting trees cut and getting access to the vehicle. The city-owned stop sign was also damaged in that incident as well, so. Couple other reports, this will appear with more detail in my December report, but as you all know, and probably saw in the news, we responded to a small body of water in the 222 to 400 block of Garnett Street. The initial information was from a homeowner that reported someone on the water, in the water screaming. Thankfully, they called 911. Our deputies responded, including an outland deputy, Deputy Bell was there, responded with, St. Francis Police Department and the, City of Nowland Fire Department. Someone in the area was able to get a canoe out to the area of open water. But these folks, these two males and the dog had been in the water for quite some time by the time we arrived. They were able to get into the boat. So that initially slowed our response down a little bit once we started arriving and seeing they were in a boat. Deputy Fellows, who works the city of Nowland, is one of our trained rescue divers and is a water rescue professional. They train monthly for these types of cases. When he arrived, he began setting some ropes up, and our vehicle of choice for these rescues is a fan boat. We have a boat that, it's basically, you've probably seen it. Actually, we just used it to put it onto the ice every night, playing and stuff. But, it can travel across the ice and the water, and the ice, if you've seen the body cam footage, the ice was in very poor condition. And the most efficient ways to get that fan boat out there, that responds from Andover. That boat is stored in Andover at our main station. And as Chris was sort of talking to the folks out on the water, he became immediately concerned that they had to get to care faster than it would be possible to get through the boat. He took it upon himself with the assistance of Deputy Grabmeyer and officers from the St. Francis Police Department to go onto the water and effect a rescue himself with the help of the folks on shore. And many of you probably saw the video that was on the local news. In fact, he says he didn't like it. I don't know if you heard the audio, you can hear him talking with the other cops on scene. And they're kind of trying to formulate a plan, but the reality of the situation is Chris, Deputy Phil, is the expert in that situation and kind of deferred to his judgment that we had to get him off the water. So as you saw, he did go out and they were able to pull both to shore. Both were immediately transported by ambulance to Mercy Hospital for emergency care based on being that exposed to the water for so long. So we really encourage people, the ice is not safe. right now. And we've had seasonally warm temperatures, and I believe that's gonna continue later into this week. We're supposed to see temperatures again close to 50. The ice is not safe. We respond to calls like this every year. We do have tools and training to help people, but we can't always guarantee a safe outcome when people venture on unsafe ice. So we do encourage people to please be very careful. And at this time, I'm not sure of any ice that would be safe at this time. So that concludes my report. Someone had asked if they were Nowland residents. They were not Nowland residents. Let's see, the victims.
Small body for non-residents to be out on.
Yes, agreed. They were transported, as soon as they got to shore, they were immediately transported, so our deputies weren't able to talk with them at the time, you know, details about how they ended up on the water, what the plan is. Right.
Any other questions for Chief Deputy?
Mr. Mayor,
That's my right.
I would just say my husband was talking to the deputy, as that call came in. And he had just explained, this is one of my specialties, you know, in talking with Scott. And then that call came in and he goes, I got to go, I'm a specialist. So it was, and then we saw that video and he risked his life to do that. So thank him for that.
So I was asking our administrator the other day, I don't know what the sheriff's department does in that, but again, we would like to have some type of recognition. Obviously, Deputy Fjeld, it's, we can congratulate him or thank him for his service, but we'd like to do something as a community. We'd like to get better at that. So if the sheriff's department has some type of recognition in a case like that, we'd like to participate, and otherwise we would like to come up with some way of honoring him for risking his life on behalf of others, people in our communities.
Absolutely, right, Mr. Mayor, I'll follow up with you on what that process looks like for us and what you expect, and of course, we'll be sure to keep you on that.
Thank you.
This one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Administrator, I think you have a couple of introductions for us.
I do. You guys already approved it through the consent agenda, but I did ask,
Ladies, be on your best behavior.
so I did ask, two individuals to join us this evening. I know as a council, you guys like to meet and maybe have a few questions for them or give individuals an opportunity to introduce themselves a little bit. So I have the distinct honor to introduce two of our new hires to you that have recently started. We're gonna start with Sue Schmidt. She started with us on November 27th. And I'll just have her come forward, introduce herself and share whatever you have prepared. I didn't help her prepare, so this is all on her own. Whatever she wants to talk about, and then give the council an opportunity to ask questions if they have questions. You can come right up to the table if you like, and
Hi, I'm Sue Schmidt. I'm happy to be here. I don't have anything prepared. I just want to say how grateful I am to be a part of the team and be able to work for the city now and I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And so far it's going very well and I'm excited for staying for a long time and
Awesome.
doing cool things. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
no dancing on the job.
No dancing on the job, but it's getting better every day, so. Anybody want-
Questions for
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Rainbow?
I would just say Sue's my neighbor, I met her, they moved in about a year ago. And it was one of the first snowfalls. And when I come home, their cars were out on the street. And so I found her through messaging and all that and just said, I'm your neighbor, but just know you can't have your vehicles out on the street. And she was home alone. And so she got her vehicles off the street right as Joe came through with the grader. So
And we
that's
had
how I
moved-
met her.
We had moved them out for the guy to plow our lot and Steve wasn't home and I'm like scrambling for keys. And I was so grateful and so I brought Mary, I think I brought you banana bread. And that's how I got. But anyway, I have been working with the Heritage Festival and I participated in the threshing show. And just every day is better in Nowland, so.
Sue, did you bring a special guest with
Oh,
you?
I'm sorry, this is my husband, Steve. He also loves Melvin.
You love it up here.
Anyway.
The hours right now, so it's, part-time. And so it's, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know if you have set hours yet, or,
We're working on it as a team.
but the idea.
You can be
is
on vacation. Oh, yeah, I won't go there.
One of the things we have to review process was, the Wednesday overlap is important because our meetings are typically on Tuesdays. And so prepping for the coming week's meeting is a Wednesday project. And then following up, tomorrow they'll be wrapping up anything from this packet. And then next week will be planning and zoning and then wrapping up from that. So the overlap will be on Wednesdays, which will allow the office to be maintained on a regular basis and the special projects that come because of the meetings to be handled more efficiently. So we appreciate the flexibility of both of you. And good to have you on board.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sue. Swear.
Senator,
I would like to add to that also with the resignation of Madeline Greenberg leaving. And the addition, and you'll meet the second one here in a second, with the addition of the two administrative assistants. We will not be looking to replace Madeline's position at 25 to 30 hours apiece for these two individuals. We will encompass the 20 hours a week that Madeline is doing within those job descriptions of these two. So Friday being Madeline's last day, and us working our plan and training these two individuals going forward. I will not be coming in front of council looking to replace Madeline. These two individuals will be taking on those job responsibilities.
thank you.
You're welcome. And again, my distinct honor to introduce to you the second administrative assistant that we hired, Chris Riley. Chris started with us on December 7th. And these are our two, go ahead, come on up, Chris. Chris is our second hire there. That fills the two open positions we had at the front counter as administrative assistant. I will give Sue, or excuse me, Chris.
I'm the other Sue.
I do that in the office every once in a while too. Sometimes it's the other way though, so I'm still getting used to it myself.
Kind of like the Devil Wears Prada. What did she call her assistant? It wasn't her real name. So I can be Sue.
I'll get it right. I'll get it right, Chris.
Yeah, it's
So go ahead and take an opportunity to introduce yourself if you like.
I'm Chris Riley. I do not live in Nowlan, sorry. I live in Oak River. And owned our own business for 30 years and we closed the doors, sort of, mostly. And so I went out looking for a new job. And came upon this and then found out I had known Natalie like 25 years ago. So that was kind of a odd connection. But I'm super excited to work part-time. I've been used to working 40, 50 hours a week. And just making a difference, having fun, and hanging out with people and doing my job.
Awesome.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
So both of these individuals, as you heard, came to us, both looking for part-time, both have run their own businesses before, they know the in and outs and the importance of dealing with residents and customers coming to the counter and all that kind of stuff, so we feel very, very fortunate to be able to, I know, thank you to Councilmember Flattable and Mayor Pilon. There were a lot of rounds of interviews that we went through, days of interviews, and I am very, very thrilled that we found the two candidates that are, I believe is a perfect fit for what we were looking for. And I want to thank the two of you. I know some of you, or a couple of you, or one of you, excuse me, was talking about the process kind of, and we felt the same way on our side. It kind of was drawn out process, but at the end of it, I think we got two very, very good candidates, two candidates that want to be here and are going to do a good job. I understand what it takes to take care of people and to run their own business from in years gone by. So with that, thank you, welcome, and thank you for being here tonight to introduce yourselves.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Flavin.
I have a question for both of you. You can see the chemistry between you. It's really neat. So I can already tell that we made a great choice because you both seem to get along really well. And so I just wanted to say welcome to both of you. It's nice to see that you're working together. I see by Natalie's countenance that it's working, obviously, so nice work. So you've had your work 1 week together or so that it's going well.
It is.
That's even better. Look at that. Okay.
Better by the day, and we seem to be on the same page, and we both have the same goals for the city and for our jobs, so I think we're gonna do great together.
That's awesome. Thank you very much and welcome.
And then we were grateful, in the interview process, it certainly, you never know until you actually get in and start doing the job, but it certainly looked like we got great fit. And we're really glad we didn't have to start this process over. Shanny would not have been continued. So, thank you both for applying and for accepting our offer and doing a great job for us. Sir.
And the last thing I have under the administrator update here is to the council here. I just want to formally invite all of you to our holiday potluck that we're going to be having next Tuesday, the 19th. It'll be starting at 1 p.m. And one of Sue's responsibilities right out of the gate is if you're going to be attending and want to participate, or if there's something that you'd like to bring, Sue's our point of contact at the office. She'll be the one taking the information and sharing that with you. But I want to formally invite all of you to our holiday luncheon potluck, or what you want to call it, but it'll be next Tuesday, the 19th at 1 p.m. Love to see it all there if you swing it with your schedule.
So being that we're live on camera to the whole city,
Yeah,
did you want to?
I did.
Who you're inviting?
I did preface it by saying council. I did.
All right, thank you.
That's my update, sir.
All right, we had a couple of presentations here tonight. Scott's been looking at our consulting staff, and right now we're looking at presentations tonight from Rum River Consultants and MinSpec. This is for something that'll be on the new business agenda here, the potential for choosing a building official. So we would like to hear from both organizations, and then the council makes a decision as to whether to move forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Give me a second here to connect. Is that okay? What? Well, good evening. My name is Carrie Dixie, and I'm a program administrator for Rum River Consultants. With me tonight, I have Andy Schrader, sitting right behind us here. He's the chief building official and owner, one of the owners of Rum River Consultants. And joining me at the table is AJ from Baseline, and we'll talk a little bit about the software that we've developed. So Rum River Consultants is a professional consulting firm known for our exceptional team of industry experts. We specialize in delivering comprehensive code administration tailored to the unique needs of various jurisdictions. Our service model enhances RRC's administrative proficiency, facilitating effective interaction with residents, property owners, and permit applicants. Additionally, we prioritize transparent communication with both staff and elected officials such as yourself to ensure a successful collaboration process. It's a really busy screen, but our offices are conveniently located just 6.5 miles of the crow flies from Melbourne City offices. And we have 18 full service jurisdictions that are listed on the left side of that screen. And then the services for our supplemental jurisdictions that we provide that are on the right hand side. Really varies from anything from helping out with plan reviews and performing field inspections on an as needed basis, such as what we're doing in Ramsey and Becker, along East Bethel, to providing state delegation services for cities like Mounds View, along with administering rental license programs as we do in the city of Osseo. We would be very grateful to add Malvern to our growing list of jurisdictions. Well, how did we get here? Well, Rum River is led by one of the owners and chief building official, Andy Schrader. Andy's an accomplished code official and business owner, having worked in the Minnesota built environment for the last 33 years. He has learned the industry from the inside out, starting as a general laborer in residential construction and then working his way into commercial projects and becoming a lead carpenter and a foreman. As life happens, as we all know, his construction career was cut short and he was encouraged to enter the profession of code administration. After receiving his BIT training at North Hennepin Community College and becoming a certified building official, Andy worked for various jurisdictions around the metro area. And as he was going through the motions of being a building official, he had just envisioned efficiencies that could be gained along with increased customer service. So he decided to offer code administration as a private consultant. We lead a team of 28 employees, which includes office staff, plan examiners, inspectors, along with our code officials. And they're both state and nationally certified. These individuals are guided by a very experienced leadership team that places a very high value on fostering very positive work culture. At our firm, we take pride in our unparalleled approach to education-based program administration. We're committed to fostering strong relationships with all of our stakeholders by offering not just the necessary information, but also that reasoning behind it. This approach really encourages voluntary compliance through that type of education and has earned us a reputation for being customer-centered. While all of our staff are trained and have the ability to assist in Melvin, we will designate a specific team of qualified members that will be primary points of contact for staff and the public, so they'll be familiar faces around the community. And this team is made up of a jurisdiction administrator, which would be either myself or Andy, and a deputy building official, administrative personnel, and our field inspectors. As a Minnesota-based company, we do find satisfaction in serving for the communities that we live in. So we offer a pretty comprehensive full-service administration, which includes being a designated and delegated building official. As most of you are aware, that role does encompass all the typical responsibilities associated with the position, such as permit processing and field inspections and permit plan review. As a privately held company, we are uniquely positioned to offer flexibility and exceptional performance that benefits the public and the citizens of Malvern. As a designated building official, we're tasked with administering the Minnesota state codes. However, we are authorized to provide those special services such as planning plan review and inspections for commercial buildings, along with the building plan review and inspections for public buildings and commercial businesses. This capability is a significant advantage for jurisdictions since it allows for that local oversight that elected officials and staff prefer, along with ensuring that the permit and plan review revenue stays right here within the jurisdiction. Members of our team are also experienced in authoring city ordinances. We keep current on legislative changes, and we also have a pretty extensive knowledge as it relates to permit fees. And myself are actually teaching a class at a regional conference in January regarding Minnesota. So we do also have certified international property maintenance code inspectors. And we utilize those individuals for rental licensing, code compliance, and property maintenance inspections. So as I stated a little earlier, we do serve 18, we have 18 full service and 9 supplemental contracts. And our team consists of like-minded professionals that continue to find purpose and meaning as leaders in code administration. We really pride ourselves in fostering positive relationships that center around the life, health, safety, and welfare of all communities and residents that we serve. We hold customer service and innovation, consistency, integrity, and professionalism as one of our core values, and are committed to delivering precise, efficient, and uniform court administration to the community of Nava. We exemplify servant leadership through our client relationships, and we also really enjoy actively participating in our jurisdiction's annual celebrations. Additionally, as corporate members of Rotary International, we're honored to be part of this global service organization that brings together professional leaders to champion ethical values, which is one of our members' business pillars. Is that ethical leadership. So this slide talks about our qualified personnel. And our leadership team has extensive experience, as I alluded to earlier, with in the built environment and local jurisdiction governance, comprising of, as I stated, a chief building official. We also have a finance director, myself as a program administrator, we have an operations manager, and we also have an assistant building official. Our plans examiners are skilled in residential, commercial, mechanical, and plumbing plan review. The inspection team has an impressive resume and includes certified limited building officials, ICC residential building officials or building inspections, certified Minnesota State building officials, Department of Labor and Industry education instructors. Along with that, we have 3 of our members of our staff that have degrees in building inspection technology. 3 of them are licensed general contractors. And we also have an ICC certified commercial building inspector. We have certified or licensed NPCA septic inspectors. And as I said earlier, international property maintenance code certified inspector. We also have a licensed master plumber on staff as well. Our administrative support team includes highly trained office staff that also features specialized field technicians as well. We are active members in many professional organizations around the state of Minnesota and beyond. International Code Council, which is ICC, AMBO, which is the Association of Minnesota Building Officials, Eastside Inspectors Association, MACO, which is the Housing Association for Minnesota, the Building Permit Technicians Association, Metro North Chamber of Commerce, Minnesota On-Site Wastewater Association, which is also known as NOAA, and National Fire Protection Association, along with Rotary International. We do take continuing education very seriously, even though it is required to maintain our staff's licenses and certifications. They regularly participate in statewide and regional conferences, and along with the institutes as well. And again, as I stated, while these are mandatory classes, as a leader in the company, we really encourage employees to engage in courses that offer broad governance insights. And that approach really enhances their comprehension of federal, state, and local laws going beyond the technical pieces of their job. And one of the things that we also understand is the importance of personal development and community involvement. benefit that we do offer our staff is paid leave for time spent contributing to community activities. For instance, we have a staff member who's involved in a youth mentorship program, and he receives paid time off for his commitment to that program. And we do that because we really encourage the, and culture that civic responsibility and stewardship. We're also staying true to the roots of Rum River. We have several staff members, are approved instructors through International Code Council and Department of Labor and Industry. And it's in our experience that teaching kind of serves as one of the most effective forms of learning. It requires a deep understanding of the subject matter and fosters an environment of ongoing intellectual growth as well. As instructors, our staff refines their experience and contributes to the collective knowledge, which is, you know, a real big base for our industry. When it comes to our commitment to, it doesn't end as far as goes beyond the walls of the classroom. We actively encourage our staff to enrich their knowledge and skills through various media, such as podcasts that focus on leadership and communication and other important initiatives. We also incentivize learning by giving away free tickets to seminars and workshops, but I will say from experience, we've seen some knockdown dragouts happen over a $5 McDonald's coupon. But we still, nonetheless, we still provide those incentives to our employees. So how does this all benefit now then? By choosing Rum River Consultants as your consulting firm, it comes with that assurance of a team that's committed to continuous improvement, both personally and professionally. And we have rigorous standards for education, our active role in teaching, and our focus on comprehensive skill development. And all that means that we're prepared to meet challenges effectively, along with innovative solutions. We understand that community thrives when its representatives are not just technically proficient, but also very well-rounded. Our office hours are your typical 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Our phones are answered during these hours by our office support staff. And in the unlikely event that a caller receives our general voicemail, those calls are typically returned within a few hours. Inspection scheduling requires a minimum of 24 hours during peak season. It is not uncommon for our schedules to be out 3 or 4 days. We do communicate what that lead time is upon the permit issuance. This helps contractors and permit applicants to not get any surprises. If we're 4 or 5 days out of inspections in the highest peak of summer, we will make sure to communicate that to all applicants so that they can prepare in advance. Our field inspectors also work various hours. We inspect and schedule inspections as early as 7:30 a.m. and then also gone late into the evening. The standard days of the week for those field inspections are again that Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30. But we do understand that some situations require that atypical scheduling. So we've done Saturday inspections, and that is available as long as you schedule that in advance at no additional cost. Maintenance permits can be issued the same day. And AJ will talk a little bit more about our software that we developed, but decks and additions and basement finishes typically take 1 to 3 business days. Accessory building plan review, if, depending on if the zoning, if someone else is doing zoning review, or if our staff does it, can take up to about 4 or 5 business days. New single family dwellings, we're usually turning those around in about a week to 10 days. And then when it comes to those complex commercial projects, they can take a little bit longer than that. And that's all case by case basis. We stay in touch with those kind of applicants throughout that process. Our processing time does not begin until all required submittals are received by our staff. So as you can see, as far as with our flexibility, we've got a pretty good program. And when it comes to any kind of emergency responses, either Andy or myself are available at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and of us. The staff has kind of that lifeline phone call to us, and we're always available. And, it also is, just good to know that our staff is very comfortable if there is, time sensitive issues or complex issues that are going on. They do a really good job with escalating that to our leadership team, and that ensures that these sensitive matters are managed by our most qualified personnel. And that allows the day-to-day operations within the community to proceed without any kind of disruption.
Sure.
So I will turn this over to,
Second.
yes,
Question for you. Can you give us an example of what what would be an emergency response from your standpoint?
active mother nature tornado comes through.
Okay,
And there are, dwellings that need to be bolstered off, depending on the size of the natural disaster. We do have a process in place, we'll go through it with our staff before spring hits. We have tags, we would probably work with to see what your emergency
Sure.
preparedness plan is, but our plan would be able to, slide right in there. And we have tags for houses and, your office personnel will have charts and things like that.
Sure.
They know who to contact. So that would be one example.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any training, roads that are going through the community. So, if there's a train derailment, or it could be something as simple as, oh my gosh, we need something done by, the next few days, and staff gives us a call, and says, are you available? And we'll make sure that we're answering those questions as needed.
my second question, on one of the previous slides towards the beginning, and AJ, if I'm taking your thunder, then tell me you're getting to it, but I seen a slide, or I seen a box up there, if you will, said MS4. Can we speak to that a little bit? I think that'd be key for us to talk about.
Yes. So MS4, Melvin is an MS4 city, and, part of, we do have a, Andy might need to help me out as far as what the certifications actually called. We have staff that's certified in that erosion control. We are experienced, when it comes to a lot of these, I say newer because I've been a part of municipal government for a really long time, but, they're getting the requirements for the MS4 program, as you all know. The outreach and education piece of it is a really important thing. And so we do a lot of that, we do that with the erosion control, making sure that the best the BNPs are in place, best management practices. Our inspectors are looking at those sites, whether they're driving by it on their way to another inspection, we do it at the building inspection, and it's maintained throughout the duration of that construction project. If, the BNPs are not in place, sometimes they make a courtesy phone call, email, making sure that we do those touches. And we've not, I know Scott and I did have a conversation about the possibility of doing more with the program and just haven't been able to connect on with that, but we do have some experience just within that whole MS4, the standards and regulations that are.
What are the costs associated with something like that?
We haven't talked about it. Yeah. In our proposed contract, which was included in your packet, there is an hourly rate, but with a program like that, it could be a package that we could keep for.
Thank you, Gary, for that.
Good evening. My name is AJ and I'm baseline project coordinator at Lumber Consultants. The best way to really describe what baseline is the fact that it was built by the user for the user. One of my first assignments working at Lumber was to process traditional maintenance permits and design review permits along with other data. And I quickly discovered through that process, that we were capable of much greater efficiency and if we automated routine repetitive steps within our current system at that time. And this platform baseline was developed through a collaborative effort involving jurisdictional staff, from processing personnel, along with various contractors and homeowners in the pre-ship specifically. So the way that this program helps homeowners and contractors in Alabama, is it simplifies tasks located within its platform. Through the platform, homeowners and contractors are able to apply for permits, pay fees, schedule and view the results of their inspections, all through a single portal they can access with a simple log. Applying for permits online is simplified, enabling users to submit their applications through their computer or mobile device wherever they want. Once they've submitted an application through Baseline, they have the ability to pay online through one of our payment providers, eliminating the need for a drive to City Hall to pay in person. Lastly, the online scheduling feature of Baseline allows applicants to plan and schedule inspections days or weeks in advance. On the actual inspection date, applicants will be able to view their results online in real time, in addition to receiving an email, the PDF of their results.
You have to have an app for this.
It's web-based, so they can access it through any browser, Safari, Google Chrome, anything like that. So they don't need an actual app, it's just a simple website. Baseline offers many tools in addition for city staff, one of these being reporting. Baseline's reporting feature allows city staff to create and run report templates at any time. To enable this, Baseline provides a range of pre-designed templates while also offering support and development of custom reports tailored to specific needs. Every staff member involved in the permitting process will have access to and a login for a Baseline account. This account enables them to monitor the real-time status of all permit applications, observing their progression through each stage in the permitting process. One significant advantage of Baseline is its advanced payment processing technology. By partnering with leading payment processing providers, Baseline integrates their solutions directly into the system. This integration allows for all building permit payments to be processed within Baseline itself, streamlining the payment procedure. This not only simplifies the process for city staff, who no longer need to track and manage all payments, but it also ensures that every building permit payment is collected efficiently and accurately. These are just a few ways that Baseline helps save time for homeowners and contractors, the ones that I described and the ones that were on the slideshow. But there are many more as you dive into the program. That was just a short, basically short and sweet explanation of the software. If you have any questions for the software, I'd be happy to answer.
You mentioned something about Oak Grove.
Yes,
Is this up and running? Is this an active program? Is this in development or?
yes, this has been up and running in Oak Grove for several months now. We're receiving positive feedback from both the city staff and residents and contractors.
You track anybody in Oak Grove stuff?
I have no.
AJ, can you, when we talk about those reports, is it a template to do the surplus reports for?
Yes,
Okay,
so
for the surplus.
The state surcharge.
Yeah, the state surcharge and,
So we offer a variety of templates, just to name three of them quickly. We have just basically a monthly issue permit report. So you can just go into the log into the template, change the date range to whatever month you'd like to pull, and it'll give you all the issued permits for that period. We also offer the quarterly state surcharge report. So that will give you all the numbers that you need to submit to the state of Minnesota. And then also a daily, weekly, or monthly inspection log. So you can see all of the inspections that were completed.
okay, so then there's also a template for the, monthly one for the new bill that we do.
Yes, anything you want, we offer just a couple basically generic templates, but if there's anything you want built in as a template, I'd be happy to show you how to do that, we'll do that for you.
Okay, and then if the credit cards are all processed through there, we need to figure out how to import it.
Yes, so we have several different payment providers that we integrate with currently. So we do like work with you to find one that suits your needs, or if you want to go with one that you're integrated. Basically, that allows, the payment still goes through this provider, goes into the city bank account and everything. This just allows the homeowner contractor would have one spot to go for their permits and then see the fund and pay for it. So just simplifies things for them, they don't have separate.
And just one clarification to Mr. Mayor, Oak Grove was the first one that they were a test jurisdiction for baseline. It is it's been rolling out for all of our full service jurisdictions. We just utilized them, when this was first started getting developed a while back. They were the first jurisdiction that when we did all the testing.
Okay, I have one more question. So when we're talking about importing it into Banyan, is it a daily import or is it a weekly or is it a monthly? Because right now I have to put in every single transaction and every transaction has 4, 3 or 4 different entries.
Yes, so actually right now I'm working with Oak Grove, they also use Banyan. So I've been in touch with them, Banyan to figure out how that functionality will work. And I'm assuming we'll be able to set that frequency up to what I do would like to be able to do that daily, weekly, or monthly. We can customize the system.
Where are you working with them?
Working with Lisa at Oak Grove, they use a consulting company called Build Solutions.
Yeah.
So I've been in communications with them to get a contact at Banyan.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
It's been my experience, being on, the staff side of the company that with technology and the way it has progressed over the last several years, the vendors, are becoming, they're not becoming less protective of their software, but they're understanding the needs, and the speed of business. And they're much more willing to integrate with other vendors so that these softwares communicate and connect with them. Laserfish is another one. I'm not sure if mine uses Laserfish, but Laserfish is typically pretty good with working with other vendors along with the financial software. So, as well. Mr. Moody? Are you done? We are, and if there are any other questions,
Councilmember Raymond.
thank you all for your time and appreciate it.
So I have a question. So walk me through this. I'm a Melvin resident. I also am a Melvin employee that's gonna deal with the permit on the other side. How does that work? So
There's, I love options, right? And that's why I say we tailor, we don't come in and say, this is how it's done. We talk with the staff, find out what they'd like to be done, and if it's possible, that's what we do. Now, we offer full service. So, when it comes to your front staff, and we have our specialized permit technicians, the schedulers, all of that. And now baseline, there's always going to be those that wanna come in and they really want pen and paper in hand, fill out that application, give it to someone, right? And we can do that, and we will do that. And, if it's a matter of staff just scanning it over, 2 permits for them, or doing it online themselves, we can work through that, workflow with staff. But essentially, our company would do everything. From answering calls, for scheduling inspections, issuing permits, it's kind of that one-stop shop. But again, it depends on the jurisdiction. Some of our jurisdictions have specialized, the city of Anoka has a specialized permit technician on staff. And we don't, so we work, in partnering with her as far as she schedules the inspections. They have currently their own software, they're more than likely they're going to be moving over to case hopefully. And so she does that through their software and schedules. Answers those upfront phone calls, because there is quite a bit of volume in the city.
Sue would like to ask a question.
I'm sorry, so as.
Yes, you may speak.
Thank you so much. With the staff that people are coming in the front door or they're calling us with questions about their permits or wanting to fill out the permit. And we're the ones that were and are currently entering them. So, if they're coming to us, And we are taking information or do we direct them to you when you take it over? I mean, how do we communicate with you? Do we log in online and we can see what's happening to let them know, or do we just turn it back to you? Kind of how is this going to benefit us? And or how do you train us to do the right things so we work with you correctly?
It's a great
Sorry.
question too. No, it's a fantastic question. And when that foot traffic comes through, one of the things that we'll take a lot of time doing is if our contract is awarded, there's a whole onboarding, process and a transition. Usually that transition time on, right? So our staff, our team, the team that would be designated to, now then would come in and we would meet with staff. Our offices again, just miles away, which is very convenient for both parties. But, in answering your question, Sue, you'll be properly trained on, you don't need to know everything, right? But your staff will need to know at least how to provide that first line of information to the people that are actually walking into City Hall. Last thing we wanna do is turn someone away and say, here's a card, go call somebody else. So you'll be trained to a certain point of, here's how you can access this information. We have handouts, lots of informational handouts on our website. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, you'll be able to see how we've spent a lot of time on our resources. And so that's all helpful. That all can be here and available to provide to those residents that actually walk into City Hall expecting to get something to take with them to start doing research and preparing for the project. Contractors, the contractors, they know what the process is.
Councilman Flack.
So I'm trying to clarify here. We're a small community. Or big community, a small community, we're used to hands-on. So when you say team, I just want to make sure that what you are saying is there is an opportunity in-person transactions. There is a way to get a hold of you and talk with you, because not everyone is going to be wanting to do it online. So that's correct. And the other thing is your offices, you will not be meeting anyone in Mountain. You will be meeting people in your offices.
We'll come here.
You will be.
Yeah, if the homeowner needs to have a meeting with us, it would be here at inside the wall, the boundaries of Dallas. Now, we do have contractors that they're driving by and they're going along 47 and they wanna stop in our offices. We would never say no to that. But, our staff has no problem with coming here to meet specifically with property owners, potential applicants. Some of the big projects, require, some of those pre-construction meetings, things like that. So, yes, no, we are available to meet here.
Councilman Brian.
Questions regarding the software is it included in the contract? Are there add-ons that are required? Or
It's included in the contract, so all training, licensing and support can be included in the contract. So I'll be the point of contact to train the staff, and then they also have access to a phone number and help for and support.
one of the modules that you have that come with it, or you have to pick and choose? And what happens if something new comes along? Do we just get that?
Yeah, so right now, the only module that is up and running is for building permits. We are looking developing other modules. And further possibilities. Like, those include basically planning and zoning module, code compliance, strategies, all that kind of stuff.
So another question is, how are you keeping data protected from one user to another, city to city? And even now the employees who could be entering their own information for their own property as well as local residents?
Yeah, so everything is secured on our side. We haven't said any leaks or anything, so we lock them down on our side to make sure that everything's secure. And everything's protected for each customer. Nobody can see information that they're not supposed to.
Were you hosting the servers in St. Francis or are you using a third party?
We use the industry standards of, Google, Amazon, for our service.
Who are you using for hosting the servers in there?
Google Cloud.
So on one of those slides, something about emergency operations.
That has to deal with emergency preparedness or emergency operations when there's, a natural disaster such as a tornado.
And so what, it's just in response, so multiple buildings are damaged.
So we need to make sure that they're secure. We would be working with police, fire, all of first responders. As far as, once they clear that building, we ensure that ever you guys are working through, a lot of times it's FEMA, depending on the size of the disaster. And they'll have you guys gone through any of the Sims, or Sims trainings? Sure.
Yes,
Sure,
we have not.
department has. So, I'm sorry.
We haven't.
Okay, so there's, depending on what type of emergency it is, when our department would be responding solely to buildings. So it would be posting those buildings, ensuring that they're clearly posted, do not enter. And the permitting issue too, a lot of people are pulling permits. We're not gonna have inspectors running down the street saying, do you have a permit, do you have a permit? People need to get their houses prepared and done, so we would come in, the team would come in and go through, that process, because the volume of roofs and siding and damage, depending on the damages can go up considerably too, but people need to get their houses prepared. So we have it's good response time as far as that goes, you know, I came through, all of them. Lakeland. A couple of years ago, there was a big storm that came through, and Lakelands are very, very small. Look on the map, and they had, lots of things. Whatever the needs might be.
So Administrator. AJ, can you give us a timeline on kind of where you are, with the code compliance piece?
Yeah, so, right now, our expected time frame for being able to have now spoken compliance module will be middle of the year. And that would be after it undergoes testing, internally, as well as maybe a test jurisdiction comes to for.
We do use our, Google Share Drive, and we have, because we do proactive code compliance in one of our jurisdictions and reactive or complaint based in multiple jurisdictions. And so we work, we have a shared file that the city administrator or key staff have access to. So they can go in and they can see the status of any ongoing concern with properties at any given time. There'll be a first action, you know, last action, when the next due date is done. There is a way that we have that, it's just not as robust as that doesn't actually solve the system. But we do have, and it's very, Oak Grove is one of them, and Warren City Administrator, who uses that, along with some of our other stations as well.
So is that a service that, again, at the $85 an hour?
That is correct. And we bill to the time of it. So we're not charging an hour for one inspection to go out and document. Typically, it's about 0.4, 0.5 for your average code compliance inspection letter follow-up. About 0.5, and then after that, depending on where it goes. If it's going, ends up all the way going to district court, or if it's done and settled on a re-inspection. A typical code enforcement piece is about a half an hour to 3/4 an hour.
So if there's,
that helps.
if there's clerical activity, and obviously go out and do an inspection, but some of this is processing paperwork processing, it's still, it's easy.
Yes, that's start to finish. So our field staff goes out, they do the proper documentation from the right of way. And then, they come back and then we have a staff member that's dedicated to code compliance. In case you're not, everyone's following code enforcement is used a lot, but, we think enforcement is a pretty hard term, so we try and use the term code compliance. And, that staff member sends out letters, gets the proper documentation from the city code, and then sends the communication, a letter out to the resident. And then depending on what the program is here, if it varies in the jurisdiction, it would be either given a certain amount of time and the reinspection is done. And then goes from there, so that typical, you've got jumping in your yard or what have you, depending on what that code violation is, the city code violation. It usually a full case is from start to finish, going out, documenting, sending out the letter, doing the follow-up inspection, it's done, case is closed. Like I said, anywhere between a half an hour to an hour. There might be some higher communication that happens during that time, or phone calls, and follow-up emails back and forth with the property owner. Usually a case that goes from start to finish that doesn't have a lot of after follow-up is usually not more than an hour.
So if we were to engage you for that type of service, obviously, we like to do things a little differently every now and then, so we do code compliance, we send out what has been termed a nice letter first. And we're trying to get people to collaborate with us. You know,
It's a
tracking
partnership.
with honey, so. Is that something you adapt to whatever it is we want? We structure things here, you say, well, there's your code, we can enforce that.
No, we work with staff, as much as you want or as little as you want. But our staff as well is trained to kindness goes really far. And what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is compliance, right? That's what our goal is. So it's been my experience being in this industry a while, it is that I find a lot of enforcement officers tend to take the more difficult path. And, the sooner we can get that violation removed, the better. And so when it becomes a contentious discussion or tumultuous discussion with the owner, and if that exchange keeps going back and forth, that doesn't help the situation. Property owners, best, biggest asset is their home and their property. My kingdom, my castle. And there are codes out there that help regulate that and set the standard for what it needs to either look like or what the use is. No one likes someone coming on into their castle telling them what to do. So, getting back to your original question, it's kindness. The letter starts out, no one likes to receive these. And we do everything education based. It's not what you're doing wrong, it's did you know that there's a requirement for this? And again, that goal is compliant. If someone needs an extension, depending on what type of authorization our staff would have, we'll give those extensions. Everyone has extenuating circumstances. A lot of it is education based, so that letter that does go out, and we can have staff review any documentation that we have to make sure that they're comfortable with that.
Sure. It's fair. Sherry, so through that process, the one that's in place or the one that would be coming in 6 months or so, will staff have the ability to be able to track where each one of these would be and in the process, like if letter one goes out or two, or I'm guessing we're gonna be communicating back and forth anyways, but is there a way for me as a city administrator to be able to go in and say, we have X amount of these going at one time, and this is the status of each one of them individually?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And all the way down to, we have what's called a correspondence record. So whether that, we have one that exists already in baseline for the building permit, so that already exists. But even in, on Google Drive, which you guys would have access to be able to go in to those active, parcels and just look right at the correspondence record, and it has the date, the staff number, what happened, whether it was a phone call or an email, all documentation is saved in the file, because in the unlikely event, we always want to over prepare for when it comes to any kind of code compliance issues, because there's always the potential of litigation. Our job is to help protect what the interest of the city of Malvern is. And by doing that, all that documentation is saved, so I become the city attorney's best friend when they go to court and they say, okay, I need everything. It's all within that file, all in chronological order. Every touch that anyone has ever had on that file. So that helps when it comes to preparing for those difficult, sensitive issues that potentially could go to district court.
Councilman Raymond.
So my question is, we have a significant list of code compliance issues. Are you willing to look at existing complaints to see what we can do there?
Absolutely. A lot of times, and full disclosure, I've not read your city code book from front to back. So, it's great bedtime reading. A lot of times, some, depending on when those codes were looked at, especially when it comes to land use code, sometimes the language just needs to be updated a little bit. And that can help, when it comes to interpreting codes. But yes, any code that is currently existing or an open case is what I like to call it. Yes, we can pick it up where it currently is, absolutely. Yeah, we would just need to make sure that we have all that documentation so we know what's been done up until this.
But you know, people move to now then, regarding those regulations. We got our acreage. You can park on the street when it's gonna be snow.
Not if you live on Mary Street.
Anything else, council, anything else from you guys? Councilor Twyla.
So I looked up reviews and I couldn't find any, so tell me why. I loved your presentation, I think you've been really thorough. What I'm asking is, what would homeowners say about you? What would other cities say about you that have had you?
We have a list of references that we are more than willing to provide. As far as my own personal experience, I actually called a property owner in Lauderdale. Haven't talked to them in quite some time, and they had a very contentious case. They built a deck and a fence without a permit, and so code enforcement, it got to that level that the code compliance division needed to walk that through, because there was refusal to the compliance. They were too close to the property line with the deck, and the fence was over the property line, and it was a rough one. And I asked, let's use a reference, just because it was such a trying time for them. It was a very stressful time for this property owner and for sure, because we helped with that situation. The outcome wasn't what the property owner wanted. They wanted to keep their fence, they wanted to keep their deck where they built it. But it did not meet setbacks, and the variance in that jurisdiction was denied. And so they had to put some considerable amount of money to correct that situation. No one enjoys going through that process, and I think by approaching it with kindness and understanding goes a long way. We're all human, again, we all either make mistakes, or sometimes you don't know. So just when I see those enforcement officers take that stance of, you should have, but the city code, who's really reading city codes from front to back? It's not fun. It's not that, it's not a great novel. So yeah, I think that going back to that education piece, that's what Candy founded the business Rum River on. And, that is carried through in our daily operations with, and we hold staff to that as well.
I just have one more question as far as, and again, it's more of a repeat. There's a lot of people in the community that just want to ask questions and they're able to do that, right? They're able to call city staff, they're able to talk to them, they're able to talk to who we've had before, give a call. You are open to that.
Yes, and we welcome that, because if they call and ask questions, it's gonna save us all so much time in the long run. Sometimes you just don't know where to go to look. Like I just said, codes, whether it's a building code or a city code, they're not fun to read, and sometimes people just wanna pick up that phone and say, you know, help me through this. How do I apply it? How do I find the answer to this? We can't get in the business of design work. We can't design your accessory structure for you, but you can either tell, depending on the scope of our services, you know, we can help you with getting to where you need to get. So yeah, we welcome that.
And then also on the baseline side, there is a phone number and email available for any support questions that I monitor all the time. So if anyone has a question, how do I apply for a permit online? How do I access this? How do I pay for my permit fees? Any of those questions, I am willing to, of course, pick up the phone or email. And I have actually met contractors at the Rum River office for training on how to use the site. So that is an option. If a contractor is willing, I can meet them there and show them how to use the platform. I put it on their home screen sometimes for the older contractors. I just put it right there so they can click on it and get into their permits.
Anything else, Thompson? Thank you, that was very thorough.
I appreciate the question.
I'm glad we started at 6 tonight.
Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, AJ. Thanks, Andy.
All right, Scott.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Scott Paul, your building official. I saw a a commercial the other day on TV where they've got a guy with his Christmas lights are crazy on the house, and then they pan across the house next door. And they got a little sign out front that says ditto with an arrow pointing the other way. That was an impressive presentation, with a lot of information. And, I guess the question that comes to my mind is, I wonder if you know that just about everything, not quite everything, but just about everything that was discussed in the last hour or 45 minutes are services you already have with us or available that you're not availing yourselves of. So I just want to throw that out there. We have delegation for state licensed facilities. We've done plumbing plant review in 20 cities for the last 15 years. We have 25 clients and another 9 backup clients. So we take care of 38 cities, as I recall. We have 20 employees, all specialized in doing, again, great presentation, great, I understand why they're here. I think of Andy and myself as being, I don't want to say, well, friendly competitors, maybe is the way to say that, right? We both aspire to the same things. He and I both taught continuing education to contractors. We both believe in a education-focused business. We both believe in customer service. So a lot of things that have been mentioned. I mean, if you were going to compete with one of our other competitors, someone from Loretto or something, and it was just the two of you, I'd pick that in a minute. So I'm left with trying to differentiate ourselves. How many of you you're all probably old enough to remember commercials for flour, right? And on the TV, gold medal and Pillsbury and whatever. And those are commodities. And gas and sugar and flour are all commodities. And when you can't differentiate on some other function or feature or benefit, you differentiate on price. So you go to the grocery store and you find the cheapest sugar. And if you don't care if it's cane or beet, you go to buy beet sugar. If you want cane or beet, you pick cane and you buy the cheapest cane sugar you can buy. Gasoline's the same way. One of the challenges that I have as a building official that's trying to operate at a high level is that, someone will assume that, oh, all building officials are the same, you're certified, therefore you get to do what you do, and I'm gonna take the cheapest one, because that's the only way I can differentiate. And there really aren't a lot of differentiators, I don't think, in the conversation that was had. You've got 45 or 50 minutes of really good information. I'd be more curious about questions you have for me, maybe, about what you didn't know we could do, or what you didn't know we do. And then I'd like to maybe follow up on, in my mind, the differentiator, which is the money. But with the recent changes you've had in the city here, my focus has been and had been when there was turmoil here at the city. When the last administration left, I believe we staffed up here for a while to take care of things, in the interim. And I know that there's a change happening here, and so my question to you would be, how can we help? Septic compliance is something that a lot of communities struggle with, the 3-year test and inspection and making sure that all that's being taken care of and that it's being monitored and letters are going out, all that kind of stuff. Is that something you need help with? I know code enforcement was something that Liz took care of, and I don't know how you're gonna handle that. But if you need code enforcement taken care of, it's certainly something that we do and something that we can help with. So I don't want what I say tonight to come across as me, trying to cut down the excellent competitor. The one thing that I'm gonna say that I think is important is that the software that they put up on the screen, was a year old or something like that. And the software that you've been using in the city for a year and a half or so, 2 years maybe, software that's 20 years old. And it's, there's a team at Community Corps whose job it is to take suggestions from cities and integrate that into the software. The code compliance or code enforcement, if you will, city code enforcement activities are already built in there. The rental enforcement's already built in there. All those things are already available in the system we have. It's already free. Erosion control monitoring is already in our contract. We already do that. So again, it seems like I'm the guy who's saying ditto, right? Great shiny, great proposal and all the things. But I'm curious about what your thoughts are, what your questions are about what we can do, and then we'll kind of talk about my last little piece here.
So you know what services you've been providing. Obviously, if you have other services that we haven't availed ourselves of, because we wouldn't have known about it. So what else are we missing? You mentioned the code compliance is part of your software package already. What did you see here that you do, but we don't?
Sure. The 4 services that we provide currently or that are agreed to in the contract are building inspection services, which are kind of a baseline, your building official work. Plumbing plan review for state lights, for commercial buildings, sediment erosion control inspections, and then fire safety inspections. And that one's sort of an optional if you need it, if you want us, we can do that. So, city code enforcement would be the 5th box on this page. And rental housing inspections would be the 6th box on that page. I don't think you have an ordinance, and I don't think you're interested in pursuing that. It's there if you want, but it's not something I believe is of interest. But I think since the changes that have been contemplated or being undertaken, I believe the code enforcement is going to be a big deal that you're going to need help with, and we're happy to do that.
And what would that look like if we were to engage you for that?
Well, I'm open to negotiating what do you want that to look like. I don't know how deep you want to go. Many communities do a complaint-based code enforcement. A couple of them have someone who drives around all day looking for tall grass. This isn't something that we would necessarily want to do because it's usually a thankless job that has a lot of, it raises the hackles and hire people around, and I don't sense that this is that kind of a community. But when someone says, hey, there are 17 junk cars in my neighbor's yard, or, they're playing in the garage at 3 in the morning, they got a band, they're playing in the garage at 3 in the morning, or whatever. Some of that ends up being police activity, or, loud barking dog and things like that, but other of it is city code stuff that we can take care of. Generally, they'll be done on an hourly basis. The similar concepts or the discussion about being done on a tablet, that information being available to you to look at it at a moment's notice, that stuff being reportable all in the software that exists currently.
I'm assuming that's not something you guys want to bear.
No.
No, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Okay.
Scott, do you have the capabilities to take the payments on the core?
Yeah, community core software, as long as we've had it, has had that available, to turn on the community portal and have that, be an outward facing as well as an inward facing for us and for you. So the credit card processing, through a processor, money goes into your bank account, it's all processed through the system. The processing fee is added onto the permit, convenience fee, or whatever you want to call it, so the city isn't taking a hit, we're not taking a hit for those fees. So it's just like someone wrote a check and you put it in the bank in terms of the flow through of revenue.
Okay, so if this was an option, is there a reason that we didn't know about it? I know when Christie had come out, it was that other system.
Is City Force,
Yes,
Previously?
it was City Force when I first came on, and then it switched, and I just haven't had time to learn Community Core. So I guess my question would be, do you know why? And can the contractors get right into Community Core as well?
yeah, they'll have a login and, access to the system, they can track all their permits. Minspec wide, not that that's necessarily a big advantage to you, but if they have permits here and permits in another committee that we take care of, they can see all of their permits there. I don't know if those discussions happened with other folks as there's been some turnover or not. I apologize that that wasn't something, I didn't know that was something that you were interested in or wanted to pursue.
Well, I think one of the things that intrigues me with what they're having to offer is that my new staff here, it's gonna go right from the builder to their system. So these guys don't have to process all of the roofing permits or wouldn't have to
Right,
process all of the window permits. And right now, that's been taking, a significant amount of time from the front desk. So that was what was really intriguing to me. And I guess I would question, why didn't we know and why have we been doing all that work if you guys would be doing that?
Well, it isn't work that we do, it's the work that the system does. And I guess no one mentioned it as a concern or issue or an interest. There may have been some resistance to that previously, I don't remember, to be honest with you, I apologize that it wasn't brought up, I mean, we can come in every couple months and say, hey, we can do this, but I don't wanna bother you with, hey, we can do this if no one was interested in it the last 3 times we have, so.
Oh my gosh, I've been so.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah,
Did you have a chance to look at the contract before you came here tonight
our contract,
with us?
I have it here.
Okay. I went through that, and if I missed it, I apologize. But these added features, I didn't see them anywhere specified in the contract as options or that we already were paying for them. Did I miss it somewhere?
You're not paying for them,
I thought you said it was included.
the software is included.
Okay. Okay,
So the whole suite of software is included, it can do all the things that we've talked about. It's just only being utilized at the level that,
so when I read through that contract, did I miss something that stated that you have all these other options available to us?
well, part of the awareness of that is the training piece. And
Okay.
we've been out to do training, several times, is my recollection over the last 4 or so years. And, if there's need for training, we're certainly able to do that, and a lot of those things would become evident through that process. We don't wanna cram stuff down your throat, we wanna feed you as you need it. And not making you aware of something that you could use is not necessarily hitting the button there, but again, without that dialogue, without the request, or gosh, it'd be great if, those conversations. I mean, you talk to Al every quarter.
Probably pretty close to that, yeah.
Okay, and you have mentioned that there hasn't been any conversation with him about that either.
No, because when I went through the contract with the contract expiring at the end of the year, when I went through the contract, I went through line item trying to educate myself on what is it exactly what we're paying for, and what we're contracting with. And shame on me, that, maybe I should ask, I just figured, here's the contract, here's the perimeter or parameters around it, and this is what, we have an agreement with, and I didn't think it ever, anything outside the lines that,
Sorry,
that it wasn't in there.
Bring that to your attention.
So,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Flatters.
so clarifying a few things. I have a few questions that I'm formulating as I'm going. One, in comparison to their software, you're saying that your software can provide the same things. Secondly, you're also saying that you can come and retrain our new staff and develop a program with them that they would be able to understand and go forward and make these capabilities that we didn't know we could do, and that would not cost us any more money because that would be part already of the program
Absolutely.
that you do. My other question is, and I'm assuming it would be the same, is, you would be doing, in-person transactions, you're still willing to do that? And,
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's not about willingness, it's how the permit gets here. If it gets here electronically, we handle it electronically. If it gets here in paper, we either pick it up if it's a big plan, or it gets scanned and emailed to us, and we handle it electronically that way. So we're, it's whatever comes to us, we will take however that comes.
okay, and can your software do it where the homeowner, if they so choose, they can do the permits and everything online?
Absolutely. Yep, we can submit documents, upload everything. Now, we have workflows in place too, where Liz gets the notification that there's a new record that's been, put into the system, and she would, in the past case, would have a workflow that is designated to her and make sure that she has to finish her stuff before it moves back to us to do our plan review. We can also, again, fire chief to make sure that if there's a commercial building, he gets an opportunity to look at the plan. We get some feedback from him about where he wants the fire department connection, where he wants the fire hydrants to be on the site, and the tactical things that he's got to be able to make decisions about. We enforce the fire code as it relates to the building code for new construction, but there are tactical things that only the fire chief is gonna be able to answer or provide based on the fact that he's the one who's gotta be there fighting the fire. So we can create those custom workflows to make sure that all those things happen and get done and closed up and brought back to the city so that it can be issued.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is you have come for training, you have been, but there has been a lack of communication somewhere that has been missed in maybe the last few years or whatever, that's why they didn't know, or that's why, all of this that we're looking at that we didn't know that there's been something that just was missed. Maybe with transfer staff over from the last, maybe from not getting that as you guys came in from last staff to this staff. So, is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, if we didn't tell you about something that you needed that we didn't know about, we missed the ball on that.
Okay,
Scott, you said something about, a request comes in and it goes to the planner for what, and then comes to you. What's the planner's role in that?
If there's a new home, planning and zoning needs to look at it, wherever that is, right? So it needs to be evaluated, is it, there's setbacks to meet hardcover, does it meet the requirements of low floor elevation or wetland or whatever the issues are, need to be looked at. And once that review has been completed, and currently we gotta do it manually. Liz will look at it and she says it's good to go and comes back to us. My understanding of how that process works is how it was set up in the original contract, is that you would do your planning and zoning first, and then we get it. And the software just allows us to have a workflow that includes all the steps that we want to have, given the type of work. So if it's a basement finish, it just skips right over that step and comes right to us, because planning and zoning doesn't need to look at a basement finish.
So we had a situation a number of years ago where somebody was putting up an accessory building. And when it was first proposed and laid out on the property, we met the setbacks. And when they decided to start building, they wanted to take down certain trees, so they moved it. And the foundation inspection was called for, and the person went out there and said, yeah, it passed inspection, and then started passing through inspections, and at some point, somebody said, yeah, that's way too close to my property, what's going on over there? And we looked at it and said, that's not where you originally set this proposed in. And, so it was an ugly thing, because it said, you gotta move that building, and the homeowner was upset, because I've had inspections there, everybody said everything was fine. And what we got back was, I looked at the foundation, and the foundation's good, I looked at the footings and the first course, and I didn't look at anything else. What, is that something that our planner has to be involved in, or is that something that when your inspectors out there, are they authorized or empowered to say, this is not where this thing was laid out on the plan?
Typically, we do a pre-construction site inspection to verify a number of things, and one of them is location of the lot. And it's a lot easier to do on a city lot than it is on a 10-acre parcel, but that should be checked if you have us doing the pre-construction site inspections. And I'm sorry, I don't remember if we are doing those or not. If that's the case, then we should run a tape off to the lot lines, and they should be marked, and we should see it on site plan, and we should be able to verify that it's being constructed in the right spot.
Is that something that our planner is doing currently?
I don't know.
So that's something that you would have available to them. I'm saying head shake that, but it's currently our planner is doing it.
Okay,
And in transition of the planning area.
so that's another thing that we can add in. Again, that should be one that's, I think it's in our. I don't think I brought a computer. If you see it, go down like that.
Mr. Mayor,
I've been planning.
I think going forward with either company, I think we need to have a detailed, because when we're talking about even transfer over of staff, I think it would be good to have a detailed account of what both companies do, what they both offer. So there's communication going forward as transfer occurs in any capacity, that we would have that, so we would know on both sides what services you are providing, what services you do provide, and everything both companies, whichever one will go with them, we should have that, because we're missing that nugget.
So the pre-construction site inspection is not in our scope.
It's something you offer, but it's not in the scope of the contract.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville.
given that, I'd like to ask from River, is that pre-construction site visit part of what you do?
If I might, thank you, Mayor and Council, that is something that we have available for on-site meetings, in order to confirm the location.
And that is built, the language for that is built in the contract.
Okay.
Every service we provide or could potentially provide besides the MS4 is in a proposed contract, which is included in the packet as well, if you need to take a look at that.
Okay. And then the second question is for full compliance. So what we have here from you is, I don't have any pricing. So what would code compliance cost us? Is it based on hourly rate, whatever?
$85 an hour.
85 an hour? Okay, and then, so the contract here, goes through December 31st of 2025. We renew. What are the costs going to be from starting with January 1 versus what they are December 31 of 2023?
Okay. So the proposed renewal is a renewal of the existing agreement. So nothing changes about
No
that.
pricing
There's no pricing changes. And I don't know if now is the right time, if you gentlemen have other questions, or if you're just content to listen at the moment.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Morales.
So my question is, if we have this service portal available to us, what does the interface look like? Cause I struggle a little bit saying we didn't know that this portal was available, because we struggled a lot with some of our last building permits for the last couple of years of having some sort of workflow that we manually requested be done, so that we could get some better alignment between what our residents were looking for and what our city planning thought we needed to provide. So if that workflow is available and it is a portal that we can sign in, it seems crazy to me that the planner didn't say, well, by the way, you know that our company offers a full portal that we can do all this stuff online, and then it takes you through a workflow, and then we have all of this online payment access for our staff here, versus it's completely manual. It's a back and forth blatant debate at times, and it's all manual for payment. So help me understand where that disconnect is, because like, I'm a little shocked that we say we have all of this, and I've been in this role for 3 years. I was on planning and zoning before that, and there's some blatantly awful meetings with residents and the planner on how some of this stuff is transpired. So I struggle with that. So help me understand. I've got 12 acres. I've got one buildable permit. I know nothing about how to get it split up and built. Walk me through how that process goes.
To split a lot?
Split a lot, build a house. I've got 12. I want to split it 7 and 5. How do I start?
So that's not my area of expertise.
So who would we go to?
Well, I assume your planner. I don't know what your plan is with Liz, former Liz, new Liz, I don't know what you're doing with that.
So then that part goes to the plan, the split. But now you're the 5 acres is split off, you wanna build a house on. Now it comes to you.
So we've got handouts for new homes, it's 8, 9, 10 pages long, it includes in fact a checklist of all the things we're gonna look for at the final. It's got all the submittal documents you have to have with the checklist, energy compliance certificate and the sets of plans and all the things you gotta have in order to deliver an application to the city and have a successful plan review and inspection process. We've got 85 of those handouts available for everything under the sun, from a furnace change out to a new home.
Wetland delineation, all that stuff.
Again, that's not, wetland delineation is not a building inspection and building code item.
I'm sorry, plan.
So I'm a homeowner, doing the same thing he is. So I go to my city planner and she's supposed to be telling me, or he is supposed to be telling me, go to this website. And if I get to your website, I can get all my information.
I believe all that stuff's on the city's website, is it?
I think a lot of it is, what isn't, and I think what I'm struggling with is that, I don't think I've had lots of conversations with Christie. I know Adrian sat down and did all of the training with her. I've never been told that I could send a contractor or a roofer or anything to the MinSpec website where they could submit.
So the portal's not turned on for the city. I mean, to be clear, it is not turned on, so that isn't an option today. We can turn it on tomorrow, but if that was a conversation happened between Adrian and Christie, if it was mentioned and Adrian said, I don't think we're gonna do that or something, I mean, I don't know. Again, I would be shocked if no one from my company no one has ever said, this is available. I suppose it's possible, but I'd be shocked if that's the case. But if it didn't rise to the level of, oh my gosh, you could really use that, or some sort of a positive response, we'd like to see that, or tell us more, or have somebody meet with us or whatever, if that didn't happen, we thought we communicated it and it didn't turn into didn't come to fruition. And I'm not the only one who interacts with the city, and I apologize for not making that information available to you more than you were aware of. But in the end, I don't know what all those conversations were that happened or didn't happen.
Right.
And I, again, accept responsibility for not making you aware of something that was available to you. But it wasn't and it is.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more question, if that's right. So another question then, if you do turn it on and we can send them right to your website, they can put in their roofing permits. You know, obviously a storm comes through here, we get slammed with the roofing permits, and that's, I swear that's all they did all spring.
Yep.
And fall, so we could have bypassed us and kept our hands off of that. Now the payment goes there, how do I integrate that into our Banyan system? How do you get that report to me?
Well, all the reporting is available to you now. It's the same reporting that I believe that you use today. I don't,
Except I manually type in,
So we-
so,
our software doesn't integrate with any city software.
right, but can you export it into some sort of CVS? Something like that, that would export into an access program?
Into a,
Well, Banyan is access based,
I imagine that could be done. I mean, exporting a report into a common limited text file or a.
just so that it would go to building permits, the surplus chart, or the surcharge, the,
Yeah, I believe
planning and
your accounting codes to our descriptions, I think, in our software.
so do you have any cities that you do that currently with?
No, no one, not that I don't know, not that I'm aware
Okay. Could you check for me?
of. I sure will.
I just wanna know if it imports into,
Not directly. It could be done through a export import.
right, which I would have to do either way. I just wanna eliminate 4 transaction touches for every permit that goes, if that's something that's possible.
We'd all like that too.
So money efficient.
You'd be much happier.
I would be much happier if I can import.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville.
based on new information that we've been provided tonight from MinSpec, I would like to postpone any agreement as far as picking a new building official until our January meeting. And in the meantime, ask MinSpec if they would carry through until we make a decision. And allow staff to have conversations with both groups to see that we're getting what we need to have. And that the software works for Natalie when it comes to building the dollars, as far as what she has to report, what our staff would be doing. I appreciate both, proposals. Excuse me. But I think we have some new questions, and I myself am not comfortable making a decision at this time. I would rather that staff has the opportunity to do a little bit more research as to what's going to work best for staff. Because in the long run, they're the ones that are working with it.
So to that point, and to have the presentation back to us be a side-by-side comparison, because we're looking at numbers here saying, this is what now the Sprint fee is, this is what Mount River would be proposing, and you're saying, but if it's not feature for feature, these numbers don't mean as much. If you're saying all these features match, and the only differentiator is the numbers here. You know, or, you know, this entity offers 16 things, this offers 12. And the differentiator is those features and the fees. But we could have a side-by-side comparison and a demo, what is available, and see if we can get away from 4 touches on the permit. Because I do know what it was like in the spring, walking in there with all the permits that were coming through and trying to keep that straight, and the entry that was required there was significant.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, it's not just my touches, it's my front desk staff's
Oh, I don't.
touches too, you know, and if I could have eliminated that, I would have been very grateful.
I know that Madeline was doing a lot of that,
Mhm.
and that was a challenge, so.
Yeah, and I think, one more, if it's okay, is right now, I would, I guess I would ask for your recommendations on permit fees and what you think that they should be. I know that right now we have some permit fees on our side that don't meet your minimums. I think we've got one that's a $40 permit and your minimum is a 50. So if we're gonna go with a side-by-side comparison, I'd also like your recommendations on what our fees should be. And how we're going to see how that works as far as how am I gonna, how to drive people to your website instead of coming in and still filling out forms for us.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
question for both. Scott, it was presented to me by Al for the 2-year extension to the contractor. Are you still, is that still a proposal today? You still looking for, I know he stated the 2-year extension and no changes to anything like that. I think what we're hearing tonight, there needs to be some changes and we need to know what all the additional things are that we don't know. So that means there's probably gonna be some substantial possibilities of substantial changes to the contract. Because when I go,
If I could comment, I'm guessing that we would just add an appendix E, 2-page appendix E to the contract that deals with the code enforcement component.
that, and I think we need to look at the fees, and I need to have probably a list of all,
I'm sorry, I just want to be clear.
yep,
City fees?
yes, what now.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yep, yep. And what other options that are out there that you all do that we're not aware of? But is yourself or Al willing to come off of a 2-year extension on the contract?
To something less than that?
Let me ask another question real quick. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong. Month to month? With all of you as far as the contract, because I think Carrie, you and I talked about,
Yeah.
yeah. Right?
If that's what's fixed now, then certainly.
That's what we talked about though, right? You guys are saying, hey, we want you to be happy with us, we want to be happy with you. There isn't contracts that are,
Our contract, no matter what jurisdiction we operate, never has a start and finish date because obviously we want our jurisdictions and their residents to be happy with the services they're providing. We just ask for a 60-day notice.
would you all, now I'm talking to Scott, by the way, I'm probably not saying that. Would you be able to, or could you make something like that work if we were to go forward? Where we're not tied into another 2-year contract if we choose to. When I talked with Al, I didn't really get the feeling that was.
Well, you're renewing a contract that I signed, right?
Right.
And that language was that way. Safe Built doesn't operate that way. I think most of our contracts are 60-day renewal. So if you want, the challenge I'm gonna have is, it's not gonna be, I don't believe that their contracts are as clear and concise as mine are. And it just kind of is what it is. So we could revise this one or make amendments to this one on a 1 or 2-page addendum to this, as opposed to doing the whole new contract, but a 60-day.
So that, what you just said right there goes to my frustration then. That I'm not sure what, there's things that weren't in the contract. There were opportunities I had with Al to talk with Al about some of these things. And was never given the option other than here's a 1-page document. We need you to sign it, bring it to council and get a 2-year extension, no changes on the contract. That's what was provided to me. And that's where my frustration comes with, is I don't know what I don't know. And these folks over here are giving me the responsibility to go look at that and bring this back to them. Thinking I have the information that I need to be able to bring to them. When we sit in here tonight and we're finding out that you got this, this, and this. So it's the reason why I went out shopping, so I could bring them an option. Because I knew we could do better on this side, so. My frustration is is here we are, and I'm learning things as they're learning it, and that's
Not the way it's supposed to be.
that's not how I wanna operate, right? And I've had multiple conversations with Al, him and I do talk. And none of this has been provided until tonight when you sit here with us, so. That's all, so we're gonna have to look at some, how's that right now?
I'd like to make a motion then, and I'm gonna change what I originally said. Because we're year end and you have, January's gonna be crazy. So what I'd like to do is postpone this until our February meeting. We would hopefully make a decision and then an effective date for whichever company we go with would be March 1st of 2024. That's it.
A motion, Councilmember Rainville, second, Councilmember Flattable,
Mr. Mayor.
other discussion.
The challenge I've had, and I know Nowlan has had this in the past, is nothing against Minspec, but we got this proposal back in October for, for renewal, and nothing seems to have taken place in those 2 months for, hey, we also have this, are you looking for that? Oh, by the way, we could do a 60-day contract, so we don't have, so we had 2 months to find that information out. And we didn't have anything. If we're looking at 2 vendors, tonight we're going with what we have in front of us to make a decision off of. And if we postpone until February, what are we doing for those 2 months?
Mr. Mayor?
Scott?
So my request to Mr. Qualley would be then, according to my conversation with Al, there would have to be some sort of a amendment that we can go past the end of the year, that we're still working under this as we're finalizing another presentation to come back in front of council. Is that an option to us, amending it and allowing to continue to work in the current status past the end of the year? That's your question, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Married to the point if, and I understand Natalie's got year end, Natalie's got elections, and we also have a project manager that may or may not be available to help with this. If that were to be expedited, you okay with that being done sooner? Or you just want, you want to stick with March
If
1st?
staff can work with the 2 different entities, and get the proposal put together that we can understand, and it's apples to apples, if it happens sooner, that's fine.
Okay.
But I just didn't want to press.
Let's get it no later than March 1st.
I didn't want to press staff knowing it's year end.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to post if I can, is I appreciate that, getting it done sooner than later. And I'd probably request all the information from you guys so that I can compare it apples to apples. I may get some of the new gals involved with it since they're the primary ones that have been using it. My concern about going all the way out to March 1st, council member, is that we're coming into spring. And if it's something that we change, we're gonna need training. And it's gonna come into spring and all of a sudden we're gonna have, 30 building permits at one time.
And it's possible that, what Scott's saying here, that there's software available could improve things in that.
On that side, right?
So yes, they can be done sooner, that much better, and without burying you
Mr.
in the
Mayor,
process. Scott?
I know Natalie's a trooper and she wants to be able to take that on and talk to staff about it, but I just want y'all to be aware your city administrator is gonna be neck deep in this one, because I want to make sure that we are, and if it's working with, project manager, combination of whatever, but I will be very active in working with both these folks and trying to get this done. So, I appreciate the offer, Natalie. I know,
Thank you.
I know you got a lot going on, but I just don't want you all to think that this is gonna be fun. This is not gonna be fun. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, who got this second?
Who's first and second?
Mary was the first.
Mary and Shannon.
Danny was second.
Mary was the motion, Shannon was the second.
And then Dan, you were in
And I want to thank you all for the effort of putting into this and mind sharing it. And obviously, you understand we need to get this right. Especially with other transitions that we've got going on here, we want to make sure we got a good coverage on what the city needs, so. Appreciate your patience, appreciate your professionalism.
We appreciate the time and attention you're giving.
So thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks, y'all.
Our old business, attorneys out of the country, I assume there's nothing happening in the environment compliant. The ordinance. Nothing's happening at this point, it's just placeholder right now. And fee schedule update. Anything there?
In accordance with the recommendations that we've received.
Okay. All right, new business, closing the city office December 27th, January 2nd. So, Mary, we're at the new business closing the city office for December 27th. And Councilmember Flavel has a question.
So, in closing the city offices, I literally just lost my place.
Here it happens after 9 o'clock.
You gonna write it down?
Lost it.
Yeah, it's gone. Sorry, Sean.
It'll come back. Scott, would you like to address your logic here?
Sure. So, just a little bit of overview of why this recommendation is coming for you all. So, you know that we have two temporary employees right now with Connie and Karen. Karen's last day with us is going to be the same as Madeline's, which will be this Friday, the 15th. And Connie's looking to go, she'll have 1 week past that before she goes on her trip and she's going to be gone. Those two are here to fill in now that we have our two full-time, or excuse me, our two permanent part-time employees here. Looking at everybody's schedules, we're really gonna be short-staffed is what we're going to be. So Natalie's going out and on vacation. She'll be leaving on the 27th and she'll be back the 2nd, back to work on the 3rd. We have some scheduling conflicts, and Sue's gonna be out from the 29th to the 15th of January. And Chris with 1 week under her belt, she's got some appointments that are come up during this also. I don't think you want your city administrator necessarily trying to pull everything over there all alone during that time frame. So what we did is we sat down,
And let me just add on that.
Okay.
We do have PTO people need to be utilizing.
That's true.
Use it or lose it, and we'll make sure that if we can coordinate it, rather than hodgepodge, people can take it and utilize their PTO accordingly.
So I will share to add on to what the mayor's talking about right there. I have spoken individually with each recycling center attendant and all public works and staff about this recommendation. It is my recommendation that we would be open the day after Christmas. So on the 26th. That'd be a regular day for all employees to include recycling. So we actually are gonna double up in the recycling area on the 26th, so we can catch everything that comes through the holiday. So we'll double up on the 26th, close the 27th, 28th, and 29th. Recycling will be back open again on the 30th. Doubled up again that Saturday to try to help anything from being closed. So they're still got some hours to be able to work that week and then be able to take care of the recycling center things, those things are piling up for a week. The only caveat to this would be if we have snow on the ground and Public Works needs to come out, but other than that, Public Works would be utilizing their PTO time also. We really are looking for a full shutdown of city offices, Public Works, recycling center, with the exception that I'm sharing. Natalie's back on the third, I can be back on the third. We start, we have the ability then to be able to open offices and all that. We would publish that, we get this out. We get the flyers up, we get on our website, we'll let everybody know as much in advance as we can. I think it's twofold. I think we've been working hard at the city in all aspects, from Public Works to recycling to staff and trying to get people high. It'd probably just be a nice way to just take a few days in between the holidays there, take some time off, try to reduce. I mean, we're talking about 3 days here and then one following after New Year's. My recommendation is that you guys would approve this. And I kind of gave you the overview of what we're looking at. One thing I will add to the 30th though, that's that Saturday after Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. I'm looking to extend the hours past noon to 9 to 3, be a 6-hour shift on that Saturday to try to get caught up with everything that's been kind of possibly backlogged during that time.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Ranger.
Administrator Laner, any consideration as to with the recycle center being open on the 26th to extend the hours on the 26th? If public work, if the recycle attendants could do that, I think that would be a big day. It's the day after, and people are want to get rid of their cardboard boxes. I don't know,
Extending the hours outside of 11 to 5 than it is.
yeah, I mean, I would say give you.
Were you
the
saying
authority
you're
to-
gonna, excuse me, double up on that day?
Yeah, yes, but would residents want to get up right away and drop stuff off? I don't know.
Start earlier, thinking.
I'm open. I'm open. It was just a matter of keeping that hours, and then extending the hours on that Saturday, but whatever you guys would like to do. I don't disagree with Councilmember Green, know that could be a busy day. That's why we went to doubling up, whatever you think, a few hours on the front side of that earlier in the morning. I'm open to, whatever you guys would like.
Other questions or comments?
So are you thinking 9 to 5?
Yes.
I would get a 8-hour shift.
Mhm.
So I'd do a straight 8 then, close to the offices from the 27th to the 2nd. People will use PTO or vacation. And then we would reopen your recycling center on the 30th from
9 to 3.
9 to 3.
Let's second that motion.
That's the motion.
Motion by Councilmember Alders, second by Councilmember Rainville. Extension, if you can staff it, on Tuesday, the 26th, 9 to 5. They can double up or else they want to do it, they don't want to out. And then otherwise, as it says in the RCA here.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Blunt.
I'm just thinking everybody's gonna have a eggnog hangover on it. That we don't need to open early from 9 to 11 for those 2 hours, because plus it's winter, just my opinion. Same with staying open extra hours on the 30th. If both people are there, we're increasing the availability or the staffing by, we're doubling the amount of staff hours that are there.
Double the time available for people to drop stuff off.
True, but I just don't think, we've never really had people coming in after noon on a non-recycling day to drop it off. Just my opinion.
Mayor? Scott, so what we're basing this off of is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We had them in there and we doubled up, and I had them in there for the 3 hours. We didn't adjust that. And they could have been there longer. There was so much that came in after Thanksgiving. So we're kind of using as our base test, saying, okay, if we get through Christmas and we're getting in the New Year's. The recommendation was maybe we extend the hours a little bit on that Saturday because of what we witnessed and went through on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So that was kind of our logic behind why we're.
And they wouldn't be working the 27th, 20th and 29th, so I don't think they had hours to that cost either. Any other questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. All right. So it's 9:22. And we have, 3 is gone, so we got the recycling RCS.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be very quick. Because since I did this, things have changed. So we put in the application for the grant, it was denied. But we are going to reapply in January, if not February. So I'm still looking to apply, get permission from council to apply. But what I would like to see is that, under the council actions, that we approve number 2, number 3, and number 4. That number 2 will allow us to purchase scales. We're not currently weighing batteries that we're getting in, or the cords, or the plastics, and we want to start getting those numbers, because we use those on the tonnage reports. So it's minimum dollars there.
They were saying like the cords, Christmas lights.
Yes.
Extension
Yep.
cords.
Mhm.
And so we don't get credit for that because we don't understand why.
Correct, and so we want to start doing that.
Do you pay to recycle those?
People drop them off at no charge. They are part of a transportation charge, from the hauler who takes them. So, and then the other scales are for the batteries. Accepting new internal recycling center signage for the NOPA building, that's at no charge to us. And then one of the things that we talked about in the meeting, which is more part of page 1, is that now that is one of the only cities that does not license their haulers. By licensing haulers, they are required then by the county to provide us tonnage for things. Right now, it's pulling teeth for some of them, because we're not licensed, we don't license them. So I would like to have council permission just to look at what the other cities are doing, and then bring that back to council. Because then we will.
You can explain to us what licensing is.
Right, yeah, and it's basically that you pay a fee to be able to haul, and it's like Ace, LePage, Walters, whoever the big haulers are. It's not the people that are taking stuff from our recycling center like Barcode. It's those that are going curbside.
So those are doing curbside, so they have to report their tonnage.
Right, but they don't have to if you aren't licensed. If they're not licensed in the municipality.
At this point, you're gonna collect data and bring it back.
Yep, bring it back.
So right now, you're asking to approve the purchase of the scales and accept the new signage,
Yep, and authorizing me to do the research on the other stuff.
okay? So that's your motion?
Yep.
A motion by Councilmember Rainville. I will second that motion, second by Mayor Pilon. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Brian.
wait a personal privilege, could you repeat the motion?
The motion is to, to minimize this RCA to the request for council action to item number 2, approve the purchase of 2 scales. And item number 3, to accept internal recycling signage from the county at no cost. And thirdly, to authorize Mary to investigate what it means to license haulers and bring information back to the council. I got that right, Mary?
Yes, and I would just ask that people read the RC, because there is good information in there that we will be addressing again, so. We just, because of the issue with her.
Councilman Brian, did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, so you have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Seeing there none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Councilmember Rainville,
Everybody?
Councilmember Rainville,
Yes.
do you want us to keep this package put together yet, or you'll be bringing it again to another coming meeting?
Nothing has it, and